forget that.
You need
You
to
have
call
8
the
minutes
fire
of
shop
airtime that you got to
today
fast
if you
forward
want
each
your
meeting. But at least right
time
now,
to come back.
I won't miss
Because
anything.
David called. I told you I know how to give him attention. Then he run away.
You just call Rex, you want something done?
Keep it.
And then he calls me like,
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
first thing I said, okay, did what I told you to do.
Well, you've got to present something.
Yeah, because you can't call my voicemail. Your body was full.
That way, every time I go to.
The way I can get any messages.
I told him, I said, how can you sell that? If I were to buy it,
I got everything submitted.
I just read your, what you said.
You hadn't seen that?
No.
yeah.
So this year's like that.
What happened, boy? Today. I got today in the mail when I got home.
I went out and got the mail.
It was
I
there.
figured put you back here, mom needs enough of me. Yeah, snicker.
I went to the mail bar. I said, wipe that the mail. Hey, what we gonna do is post.
What they do, you didn't get it?
Until today.
Just got it today in the mail.
And we send it all.
That's how quick I get mail.
I get mine via email and it's always works.
Well, I got the email. I told her I got the review. So I said, one reason I have email because I'm a district chairman out of FA, you know. And people need to send themselves.
Well, but email doesn't always work either, too.
No, it don't go through sometimes. They'll keep telling you, you use the right correct address.
Well, sometimes you get the right address and it doesn't work.
No, I had it the other day. I put Vice President, IBFA, @.org. What's so simple about that? It's spelled nothing wrong. Can't send it out.
They don't have one out that has to face
No, I
the
just wanted somebody might have brought one. I thought about bringing one.
I did too, although I went and grabbed my TV.
I think so, because I didn't know about it.
Yeah, we got plastic out there.
Everybody wear a mask? I'm gonna tell her.
That door's got plastic out there.
COVID first
So
hit last year.
they use
They all
plastic,
yelled at
you know, when
everyone.
they're
Yeah.
in the
Thank
summertime.
you. They all
And it's out there and it keeps banging against the door.
Yeah, they were yelling at everybody to wear a mask, and then when we got mandated to wear it, those 5 refused to wear it. And I was like, yeah. They were all made up, oh, you need to wear a mask, you need to wear a mask, and then they never did, so it's like, you know the females I'm talking about, the yellers. Yeah. Not saying that she's a bad person, but when they did that, that just ticked me off. Yeah. Our lawyer for both parties.
From what I heard the other day, I'm glad I
I'm
was in
busy.
Gas City about 4 years.
What are they gonna do?
You ever been over to Hartford City and see how they're tearing that up?
What part of Hartford City are you talking about?
Any part of Hartford City, what they're tearing
They
up.
finally got the road back open.
Well, in 4 years, they're gonna start at the bridge of Gas City, tear that bridge out, rebuild that bridge, put a 10-foot, from what I heard, a 10-foot wide walkway down to the school to the walkway. There's enough kids coming.
It's classic.
And then they're gonna start tearing the Main Street up where the state highway, down to the gravel like they did, and put new everything in. And put a median all the way down to 10th Street, so when you get downtown, you're only gonna be able to park on one side of the road.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be a median.
If you driven down south in Hartford,
Because I asked the person how he knows, because he works for the street department, he said, well, you know Brian's leaving, I think, I had to go to a meeting the other day with the state, and they were already talking about the 4-year plan down the road.
well, the way
I
they
said,
did,
well, good, then I'll have to learn, remember all my backways in and out of Joey's lane.
Well, 3, when you go down on the, east side of the road, and you're heading north into town, they made all those manholes. So it's like, what's the point of driving down the road where you're already going like this because of all the manholes that they just put
The
in?
same guy did that project, will be on the gas food project. He said he's from the Harper Creek.
Oh, he is.
So he said, when we get that done.
We're
we'll
not.
be over here.
What you might do is
Okay, so I need to call
constantly be
you.
aware of if you have anything that's having on a cold, blustery day.
Well,
Hello? He's talking. Who is it?
So we all had masks on and everybody came in.
He was just talking.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello,
Yes.
hello, this is Bill Johnson.
all right, you're on, Bill.
I don't know, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I told you on this day.
Bill, I suppose you're gonna report on the temperature.
Okay.
What's the temperature where you're at?
Well, you really don't want to know, it's still 78 degrees.
Now, we don't want to hear that.
Turn him off.
Turn him off, click him off.
It was 81 or 82 today.
Elaborate.
You'd about ready to make us catch a plane.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know it. Brenda? Yeah. I still did not receive no paperwork, so we're flying blind here, so, okay. I just wanted you to know. Everything's slow.
So everyone else got theirs today, so you may get yours in a couple of days.
Yeah. Okay, I'll wait for it.
We sent them out pre-Thanksgiving,
Yeah, 'cause I'm
if that tells you how quickly everything's moving.
That's why I hope they heard fire again. They said they're gonna fire. They heard it again, didn't they?
Welcome to the Grant County Board of Zoning Appeals. If you would all please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be somewhere that way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is our regular scheduled meeting for December 6th. Brenda, would you give us a roll call for attendance?
Howell,
I'm here.
Johnson,
Here?
Jones. Here. Long,
Here.
Maynard,
Here,
Hartman.
Here. Okay, let's move to approval of minutes, November 1st.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
We have a motion to accept the minutes as written and a second from Rex and Ron. Brenda, would you give us a roll call?
Howell,
Yes.
Johnson,
Abstained?
Jones. Yes. Long,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
Motion passed. Those minutes are accepted. Now, you all should have got an email for the joint meeting minutes of November 15th between the APC and the BZA. And those minutes are not acceptable. There's too much left out, and there's a lot that needs to be redone. So I recommend that you review the tape and get those ready for the January meeting. Okay.
I'll make the motion that we postpone approving the minutes to the written right.
APC's gonna vote on that.
Well, I can't control what APC does, but I will, accept that motion that we delay and we get them corrected. And we have held minutes before to be corrected in the next session, though not often. So would you give us a roll call on that motion?
Can we get a second?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Rex and Lois.
Howard,
Yes.
Johnson,
Abstain.
Jones,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Maynard.
yeah.
Okay, motion passed. Next on the agenda, approval of findings of fact, docket 13 BZAV-21, Carolyn Burbank.
I'll make the motion we accept it.
We have a motion to accept the findings of fact. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Rex and Lois. Would you give us a roll call, Brenda?
Howard,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Maynard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We have no old business, public hearing, and no new business petitions for correspondence and other business. April 2022 meeting schedule. No, adopt 2022 meeting schedule. Excuse me. Now, there were two of them in here, and one included a July meeting. Now, traditionally, we've not met in July, and well, this one says July 3rd, but that would be a Sunday, and I recommend we don't have it then.
Is that what
The 4th would be the Monday, so the 5th would be a Tuesday,
Would it be the following Monday?
or it could be the following Monday, which,
What month you saying?
this is July. Now, in September, we go to the following Monday. So this would follow the same pattern.
Okay, I see.
If we need to have a meeting in July, which sometimes July is a period of time when people are wanting to build things and get things approved. And they would otherwise have to wait till August.
Normally, we don't meet on July.
But normally, we don't meet. So, we have a choice here of these two schedules. And the question to the board is, do you want to meet in July if there are petitions? And if there are not, we would not have a meeting. We could say that. And, or do you want to go with the other schedule where we do not meet in July? So, now, mull that over, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Now, if we got filing deadlines of May 16th, that
For
we're going
June.
into June.
Yes.
And if you have filing deadlines of July 11th, it will actually go into August. So
Yes.
if you're going to do that, you're going to have to change the filing deadline for that period of time, I would
Well,
think.
the June 12th deadline would go into July. But on the other schedule, you see May, May drops down to August. May 16th drops down to August 1. Or July 11th drops down to August 1 as well. Well, the period of June and July drop to August.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that clear? I said it about 3 different ways.
I make a motion to stay as is,
So you would
no meeting in July.
motion for the first
I'll second that.
and a second. Okay, we have a roll call on that.
Howe,
I'm going to abstain.
Johnson,
I needed some verification on what the motion's for. Please tell me again what the motion is for.
The motion's for us to keep our meetings the way we are. No meeting in July.
And you had a second on that.
Yeah, we have it.
And I say yes.
Jones? Yes. Long,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yeah.
Can I change my vote, Brenda?
sure.
I would vote yes on that, but I also would think that we should leave it open for a special meeting if we do have major requests, because, I mean, we can't just, to me, if there are major requests for construction or something like that, and during that period of time, if we can have a special meeting in that regard, then I would vote yes on that. And Ed told me that
We could have a special meeting. I could call one if we feel a need.
Yeah.
So we could proceed with the old schedule. And if we needed to meet in July, we could with a special meeting. And we'd probably do it on the 12th if we
Yeah.
saw the need.
Okay.
Okay.
And that ended up being a motion at all.
No, that's just something that we know as part of our rules. Okay, I think that's a good solution. Appreciate that. Okay, Kyle, do you have anything for us?
No, I can deny.
And Ryan, do you have anything for us?
Just a couple of things. The first thing is just to announce, commissioners did reappoint both Ed and Ron to four-year terms. Now, I called you and you said yes. Don't give me that. So I just wanted to
You
announce
never
that.
they never listened to me when you were in school. Now here you are.
Oh. Hey, none of us listened to him when we were school.
Yeah, you're right. You did not know.
So I just wanted to announce that for the record.
Okay.
And then Nicole is going to, we had talked about at the last meeting as far as the unsafe structure, possibly what it would look like if we brought an issue to you guys as far as an appeal to a decision. So Nicole put something here together, just real briefly, to hit real quick of how that would kind of look coming to you. Once if you guys are in favor of it, then I will get it over to the APC and start the adoption process. So she's giving you a fictitious case.
Yes.
So pretty much, she's went through it. They want to appeal my decision, and now it's coming to you. So she'll kind of walk you through that.
Okay, so the first page is something that I would give to you guys once everything gets started to give you a rundown of what all has been done. So in this case, we had a situation where there is abandoned vehicles, trash, and debris. So I basically made up these dates off the top of my head. The names are all fake, the case is fake, nothing in this is real, other than the pictures that I pulled off the internet. So behind that is the first letter I would send out. So if you flip it over, this is the initial letter. No case has started yet. I've made contact with the owner, told him what all that needed to be done. Told him when I'd be back, sent him a letter stating everything that was said at that meeting, and we would come back on whatever return date. This one in the case is February 3rd. Now, let's say February 3rd comes around, I go back out to the property, nothing's been done. So I come back to the office, and the page after that is our warning ticket. That's where I now have a case number. I've explained again what all is wrong with the property, what he needs to do, giving him 30 days to, now he has to. Instead of giving him 2 weeks to make progress, now he's got 30 days to do so. So if we flip to the next one, this would be what we would consider our attorney letter. But at this time, if we're gonna use you guys, I send him another letter basically giving him 10 days to get it cleaned up, or we would move forward. So this would be equivalent to our attorney letter. They'd have, and of course in this it states they have 10 days to appeal anything that Ryan and I had discussed with them. And if they don't appeal, then we could come back and start that process. Well, in this one, the homeowner wrote back, explained to us the situation that he can't do it or doesn't want to do it, basically giving us reasons why he wasn't able to do what he was supposed to do. In that case, I would return a letter letting him know that I did receive it and telling him when the meeting was, and then it'd be brought to you guys as whatever time that you guys said. Of course, this one says 6 p.m. just because that's when our normal meeting times are. So then we would come back to the front page where I'd explain to you that I've given him ample enough time. His job is to clean up the trash and get the vehicles removed from the site. At this point, we would discuss as a board on what options he could do, either hiring someone to remove the trash, getting someone out there to remove the vehicles, and more or less, we've told everybody that in order for you to comply, the junk cars need to be removed from site. Doesn't always necessarily mean they have to get them towed. They can put them in their barns. They can do whatever they want with them. Our thing is to get it out from plain sight. Yes. So this is where you guys would make the decision on how long to give him, if we're even going to give him any time, if we wanted to go ahead and just go and tow the vehicles and hire a crew to clean up the property, we could do that. This is where you guys would come in and make a decision with the homeowner there. The homeowner should be here. He would explain to you guys the situation, which would be something along the lines of the letter he sent in. And then you guys would be the ones to decide after I've spoken to you, giving you the ordinance, explaining the situation, telling you how many times I've been out there, how many times I've given them chances. And if for some reason we have spoke within any of those letters, I would put in those letters, met with you at this date, did this, progress was being made, and then eventually I'd tell you when progress wasn't being made and why we're here.
So for it to come to you, we have made a decision that 10 days, we're coming in, we're towing the vehicles, and we're cleaning up the property at a cost to the owner. So what would happen now is they actually say, no, we want to appeal this decision to you guys, to give them more time, to give them whatever. So kind of the board would come up and present, and then the owners would have an opportunity to talk, and then you guys would make a decision on whether we move forward on towing, or we give them more time, or whatever you guys may come up.
And of course, if they appeal your decision, then they take us to court, not us take them.
Saving us some time. Since that's fictitious, is it
all
is
fictitious.
it 5 vehicles, is that the max?
That is what our ordinance states. If you're gonna have it in plain sight, it needs to look like it's, all the tires have to be aired up, it has to be plated, nothing can be broke, when doors can't be removed, it actually has to look like it's a functioning car. Whether or not you can start it, that's a different story. But if it doesn't look abandoned, then we can't go after it.
As long as it's tagged, it's
Yep.
still safe.
Correct.
Yeah, because I got a neighbor, you think he got a bunch of junk cars? When you go to talk to him about the house, and hopefully every license plate out and all, people are right too.
And of course, a lot of these aren't so cut and dry like my fictitious case was, sometimes I could have communication up until the warning letter that I had to send out, and I could have gave him 3 months to work on it with him, you know, making communication, explaining to me his situation, saying I got a doctor's appointment on this week, I won't be able to do it then. I was like, okay, let's push it up another week. As long as there's communication, it won't come up to you guys. Now, once the communication stopped, which in this case, I've only had communication with him once, which then pushed all the letters on time with the time frame, and that's what brought it up to you. We could be working on one complaint for 6 months before they end up stop talking to me, and then you guys are gonna wonder, well, why wouldn't we hear a month or 3 months ago? And it's like, communication is what we look for. As long as we have communication, we don't move forward on cases. And of course, as long as work is being done. And of course, my pictures will be more detailed than the ones I pulled off the internet. My pictures will have timestamps, addresses to prove where I was at that time, when I was there, so that way if they ever come up and say, well, she walked my property at 5 o'clock at night, I can prove to you guys with my pictures that it's timestamped exactly where I was at, when I was there, date and time. So that way there's never an excuse stating that I was somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be.
Now, this is primarily vehicles, junk,
Yep.
so I'm not dealing with.
Houses, no.
No.
No, you guys will not be dealing with them because of the fact that we have to get a demolition order. That goes straight to courts. So.
I need some.
I'll make the motion, if that's what she wants, and like that.
There's still some bugs we gotta work out. Like I've actually I didn't have time today to go through the unsafe building ordinance that we're trying to get into. That right there outlines more of what you guys are supposed to decide on how you guys are supposed to do it, and lead you guys in the correct area to where we know exactly where it's coming from. That way, when the same situation comes up 3 times, we already know how to do it. So in that ordinance itself, it should line out everything you guys do, and hopefully before next meeting, I can actually have it to where it explains what you guys are actually going to be doing, how you guys decide and of course, I think more or less it's more of how you guys feel. If you've seen that I've done my job and tried to get them to do it, obviously if you feel like I didn't do my job, I didn't give them enough time, that's when you guys would decide, okay, let's give them another month or another 2 weeks to show progress. That'd be where you guys make the ultimate decision.
Now, in situations like this, the property owner may not show up for the hearing. Just putting that out there.
That is true.
Sometimes they don't show up in court. Something like this is going on. So,
Kyle, do you have a thought on what she's presented here? Do we have any problems anywhere on legalities?
No, I mean, you know, I don't know what the basis in regards to the trash is here. I mean, if we're going on, say, building, that deals with buildings, so I mean, I'll talk to them and look at it, but I mean, if you go through the unsafe building code, your theory is this, you're the hearing officer, you know. Opportunity to be represented by counsel, present evidence, cross-examine, public hearing, you know, your standard court notices. If you talk about people not showing up, I mean, you have to understand they have to initiate this action. So there's already an order by the department telling them X. They have to appeal it. So they have to take some, you know, the difference in court sometimes now is you go through and we're initiating action and they're doing nothing and then they don't show up. So, I mean, you're anticipating a process, trying to get the process simpler where you can skip the court process and, you know, just issue it. If they don't do it, then it's done.
and basically for us, we would just decide that, A, they need to go ahead and comply, or we give them a different amount of time frame to get it cleaned up based on their side of the story.
Right, you affirm the order, modify the order, or rescind the order. It's your discretion, and obviously, your decision would have to be based on anything presented at the hearing.
Right.
So you would be like a judge, you can't go off and do your own investigation. You can't ask Ryan or Nicole before the hearing, hey, what do I think? You know, you have to come into it, you know, kind of cold turkey. And they have a pleading, but you can't go out and, you know, call people and look at things. It just has to be presented on what is presented to you at the hearing. And the whole basis for that is both sides know what you're looking at, have an opportunity for a fair hearing, and what's presented just to you, each party knows.
But on my part, you should get those, once we get everything started, you get a packet like this each time I have someone coming in. So that way you guys are informed and can look and see what all I've done. That way you're not just hearing me, well, yeah, I sent the letter at this date. So we would actually have copies in each packet, so that way you guys have a chance to look at everything. And again, my pictures will be more than just these. I'd actually have a timestamp for each time I go out there, so that way you guys know that I've been out there and you can see the differences in those pictures, if there is any.
So any packet you get, you would not call Nicole or you not call Ryan, you bring your questions to the hearing. Just as if the property owner were to call you on the telephone, you would say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you, you have to present at the hearing.
Now, if we are given advance notice about this, are we expected to do a drive-by? Like we do with our special exceptions or variances? Just to get a look at it and say, yeah, looks like the pictures.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get pictures and then you go do a drive-by and you kind of get a different view of it.
Right. I would say, you know, you may be subject to something, but I would think that would be the maximum what you do to drive by, just to get a look at it. And just to notify. The only thing I did is I drove by the property. You know, I didn't go out and talk to neighbors, I didn't go, you know.
No, I would not suggest at all getting involved with the
Probably
property
get
owner.
an investigation.
Yeah, sometimes I don't want to do that, and that's my job.
Because the only way they got now in the court, you just have to take them to court. They have to take you to court.
Yep.
And this is basically the appeal process that is outlined in our code that we have almost never done.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's true.
So they're ticketing them, they're appealing it to us.
Okay.
We give an affirmment or some other kind of a decision, we're rescinding it, or making a compromise, extending the time possibly. And then that has what authority? What's next after that?
As soon as you guys tell me, let's say you give him 3 more months to clean his property. If in 3 months he doesn't have his property cleaned up, then I can automatically get a crew in there to clean up the trash and get the vehicles removed. If he does not like that 3 months, then he has to appeal to the courts.
Okay.
I've got a question. The fact is that say this person has a lot of cars on his property and those cars don't belong to him.
Then that would come to another question. If he's like, so someone dumped off cars, or are you saying he's running a business? So
Running a business or, drop them off or.
I've actually had a few people that had people leave cars on their property, and 9 times out of 10, when I go there and tell them, hey, I'm tagging this vehicle, they're like, well, it's not mine, just tow it. A lot of people just want it towed off their property. They can tow it off. If it's on their property and they are the legal property owner, they cannot be a tenant. They have to be the legal owner of that property, from what I'm understanding.
Kyle, are we legal on that?
I'm sorry, what was the
Are we
question?
legal on that? The fact is that, say somebody has, cars or something at another property and they're not the car owners of that car and we tow that car.
No, they're responsible for any vehicles on your property. So if you own the real property, if that's your responsibility, you would be liable to the vehicle owner if, let's say, something happened. Because, no, like I can't come park my vehicle in your front yard. The law says I'm unauthorized to be there, you could tow it out. So, I mean, there'd be no authority on, Grant County doing it, it'd be on the property owner.
Yeah.
So you're responsible for what goes on your property.
If they're running a business, then it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. If we're running a business, we're in a whole other.
We'll work on that one.
All right. Are there any other questions before we go to a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept
I'll second.
Rex and Lois making a motion and accepting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Powell,
Yes.
Johnson,
Oh, yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay.
The other thing I had was move it into the rules.
Okay.
What do you say?
Yeah. Yeah, we have,
And we got reappointments to do.
we did that. Yeah, it's quick. Okay.
I missed that completely.
So we have rules of procedure, and I assume everybody has the rules of procedure here that we have some suggestions. And then we have a copy of our actual rules. Okay, and what we want to do is go through these and decide which ones we want to adopt and which we want to just leave the same as our rules. And in doing this process, we've got to consider, okay, as a BZA, we're created by the commissioners, and according to the state code, we are to make our own rules. And we have a set of rules, and Ryan has looked through these. Have you had any help with this, or is this just all your work? Just you, okay. He's gone through and he has looked at possible changes, okay? Now, what we have to decide is, what do we want to change? And the reason for changing it would be that there is a conflict with the state code for BZA order, okay? So if we have a conflict, then we should change. If it is not in conflict, then there's obviously a provision, since you're charged with making your own rules, you can make your own rules, and your rules can go beyond what a state minimum might be. Okay? As long as it's not in conflict. So we'll have to bear that in mind as we go through this. Okay, so we will not try and get through all of this tonight, because there is a lot. And if the group feels like, hey, it's too much for all of us, we could have a committee study it and come back to us with a recommendation of what they see would be things that should be changed. And we could minimize the time spent in regular meetings. But we would need volunteers to be on that committee too. There's not a whole lot of us to begin with. There's just 7 of us. So I'll entertain any thoughts you guys have on this as to how you want to proceed.
What it might be, Ed,
Yes.
I'm kind of thinking, would it be easier just put a 2-3-man committee, let them go through this and see which one they might think we need to change, instead of us going line to line or paragraph or ordinance to ordinance?
Yeah, or page by page.
Yeah, and bring back what they think, or if they don't find nothing to change.
I'm open to that. We would have to have the volunteers for the extra meetings that would be required
Yeah.
to get through that. Now, we could have, as in the past, the BZA and the APC shared the same rules. And I wasn't always sure that was a great idea. But
There's differences.
there can be differences, and then you have to write in, this is just for BZA, or this is just for APC. Now, they've got a team, I think, already that was gonna be working on this.
We haven't met yet.
Haven't met yet? Okay,
No.
so,
Because Bob Boswell said he was gonna get a hold of us last week.
all right, so anyway, I don't want to drag this out, you know, I'd like to be done in a few months and voting on it. And I think that really means possibly some extra meetings by at least a few people who would be willing to put in that extra time. I look at it this way, I'm on it either way. I'll volunteer. Or I'll be here if we want to do it in regular meetings. But I prefer a couple to join in this effort if they want to go that route of committee, and then the committee comes back with the specific changes.
When we get into the code, the 900 series is BZA, and the 800 series is APC. So when you get into Title V, your local, those are the same as far as public hearings and some of that sort of stuff. But as far as BZA and APC, they are two separate.
Yeah. And when it comes to the Indiana code, we'll still be bound to go by that. So I think we can try and keep ours a little bit simpler, because we can always read the Indiana code and refer to it. And then in areas where we have additional rules and procedures, I think that's really where we need our focus.
That's what got me sucked into doing both, is because I was going back and forth.
And over time, some things in the state changes, and we have not. So,
How many changes are you proposing?
Well, some, again, in here, I kind of set it up, so here's what we've got, here's Indiana code, and here's the interpretation to Indiana code. Some of it is no change, some of it is maybe adding the code sections at the end of what we've got, but we do have sections that are repealed. We do have things in here that go above and beyond, or like one of the examples we were talking about today is when we talk about absences. I know that had come up at the last time. The state code says that three consecutive absences is considered resignation, but it's up to the adopting party, not up to the BZA. And ours has always been if there was notification to the BZA or to the office, that we could make those that we could make those calls, but according to Indiana code, it's actually the adopting party that makes those calls. So I mean, we've got some stuff like that we say this, the code says this.
If you start at the beginning and go through 5 pages or 10 pages or something like that, would you then be able to close the door on those things and then go to the next 10 pages?
Yeah.
They will not revert back to the first 10? I mean, we don't have to worry about if we...
Yeah, and if you read through it, it's hard once you get into the flow. I mean, most of it, I've got notes, I've got, say for area, when we get into our variance uses, we ask 5 questions. The 5 questions per state is for the metro board. The area is only 3 questions, but we've always asked 5. So that's, we can always be more, but it's more, do we want to keep it here or do we want to go with state? So I mean, a lot of this isn't rocket science or reinvent the wheel. A lot of it, we've kind of got what it says. Some of it's been repealed, or the code's changed and now it's something different.
Can we put that into a regular meeting and do just a section of it each time until we have completed it?
I think we could do that if we commit, you know, the month before, that we want to go through so many pages, and we want to be well familiar with it.
Homework.
And, yeah, homework, and that we're ready to go, yes or no, on
I think
each,
that'd be a good way.
on each paragraph that's got to change. And then once we've got that group done,
Yeah,
then we move to adopt it,
okay.
and it's done. And then we move through it, the rest of it that way.
I think on those times that we don't have that period, we don't have it, that would be a good time also to be able to just have a meeting and then if we don't have any applicants, we can go right into doing it.
And the other problem that we had was that the other organization meets at the same time, or the same place that we meet. So therefore, we'd have to get out at a certain point.
Yeah.
So maybe we would have to change meeting rooms or something like that.
If we wanted to continue
If we
on that
wanted to,
night.
yeah, facilitate it.
We, as long as solar's in the arena, we'll be out there.
Yeah.
So there is the second room back there that you guys can use. I think there's someone in there tonight for a little bit, but.
Now, there's a little bit of a situation, but maybe not so. You can have a committee work on something, and they go work on it. And that doesn't have to be a public meeting, is that correct?
No, if you appoint a committee, even if it's a minority of two of you, that would be a public meeting, because any committee is still subject to the open door law.
Okay, then in that case, we've got to be in the room.
Yeah, because once you advertise a location, you can't switch your location.
So once
That might require a special meeting, advertised as such.
we want to have, if we thought we was going to translate after our meeting, that the APC usually meets at 7.
Yeah,
We might have to change our meeting time to earlier and know we'll get done at that time.
yeah, or have another night when we could have a 2-hour or 3-hour meeting if we want to grind it out. But whatever we set as a goal for, you know, the next meeting on it, I'd like to feel like we can accomplish that, and push it through, that we all ready to go with our questions.
So the reason for meeting here is anticipating a larger public group, is that?
Well, our council chambers are limited to 25,
Okay.
and they're actually going to lower that number with our code members.
Okay.
So that's getting ready to come down. With the APC being 13 members plus,
Yeah.
we end up at 18 before we ever start.
And do we pay rent on here? No. And this is available to the government agencies for
Yeah, I
meetings?
just have to get with Purdue Extension and find out when it's open.
When it's open, okay. That maybe would solve that problem.
Yeah,
But it's easy enough. I know 10th and 13th is open, or 10th and 13th and 20th is open if we would want to go that route.
Hello.
hello, Bill. Okay, the 12th and 13th of this month,
13th and
13th and
13th and 20th.
13th,
What day 13th on?
Those are both Mondays.
it'd be a Monday.
I checked those because we're hoping to do the solar on one of those days too.
The 13th or the 20th.
I say 13.
Okay. Let's do December 13th. So that'll need to be, well, that's a problem, isn't it? We can't advertise it 10 days before.
Public hearing is 48 hours.
Now, what's that?
Just 2 business days before a public meeting.
2 business days. 48 hours. So we could advertise it this week for next Monday. So, special meeting. And on the agenda would be review of the Grant County BZA rules.
It's 6.
Yeah. Now, we need to meet here for that. There's not gonna be that many of us.
So we might do that in chambers.
Council chambers. Okay. Okay. Okay, for other business. We had a joint solar meeting. Oh, keep on passing one down. We had a joint solar meeting with the APC. And at the moment, and has been in the past, BZA has been responsible for solar special exceptions. So, because of that, according to the new proposed solar ordinance, there's a change in there which proposes to move away from the BZA and have it reviewed by the APC, who would then send a recommendation to the commissioners to accept, reject, or modify. What was brought up in the joint meeting last time was to have a more thorough review and to add a line to the land use table for solar and wind farms, and that those in ag be rezoned to a new zone of ag, and that would be a special electrical system or a solar electric system, some designation such as that, and it would call for a special exception. And that solar farms, at least, could be permitted in industrial I-1, I-2, I-3 without a special exception. So the order then of approval would be the area plan director brings forward the petition for a special exception and application, and the area plan commission would review for rezoning of that if it was in agriculture. And they would pass it then to the commissioners for a recommendation. And then it would go from there to the BZA for a special exception approval. That's the most thorough review. And I didn't think this up, or nobody on this board thought this up. Franklin County, this is how they're doing it. they wanted a more thorough review in the way of what agricultural land gets changed, rezoned for wind or solar. They felt that was a good way to control it, because not all agricultural land should automatically be considered available for something that's not at all agriculture. It's a utility. And it's a utility that requires a large amount, or would like to have a large amount of land. So there are some reasons for that rezone. Well, anyway, you're all members of BZA, and you've been involved with actually approving a solar field outside of Gas City. Back on February 4th, 2019, this body unanimously approved the building of the solar field outside of Gas City on 17.88 acres. And it's in use today, still. So, that one was done by the BZA. There's a precedent of which we participated in that decision. And I think that little field has been a benefit to the community, and so they're actually looking to do another one, from what I understand. So, anyway, if anyone says you guys are against solar, we passed it. The only one that we actually had that I've been here for, but we did pass it. So, in that sense, now we're talking about bigger ones, and these projects are, well, where they're going in, sometimes they're having a lot of trouble. Just south of us, Madison County, on the Superior Court over it. And so the outcome of them, and we'll wait and see. But, you know, there is something to be said for not being first. We can watch and learn from other people's mistakes.
But Madison County's in the Supreme Court over membership of their BZA.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but the people are suing and coming up with any reason they can think of to try and get that overturned. Now,
Yeah, I have a question.
yeah.
Before you unfile it.
Excuse me.
I know the order we usually follow, like it comes through the court company. What area, who is recommending this to leave our area? I think it's wrong what they're wanting to do. Because they're wanting to change the rules that we have followed for 8 or 9 years that I've been on the board. And from the way I take it, it's coming from the commissioners, and why does the commissioner want to change this procedure the way we always follow? Why are they wanting to change something? Because if we do like it's supposed to be, they said it's fine, but it seems like all of a sudden they want control of something, and they're wanting to change something else. And I think we need to send them a good message that it should be left alone or do what we're reading here. Because why are we changing something in the middle of the ballpark? We follow certain rules, we say we need to follow certain rules, we need to abide by them. And I think the commissioners need to abide by their rules that they have set forth on us. We send our rules to them and we say this way, and they agree on it. I think they need to abide by it and do it the way it should be done, not the way they want it done. And that's why I want it out in public, because I want it understood where it's coming from, the commission. The change is not coming through the BZA or the APC, it's coming through the commission. And I think the commissioners tell us to change ordinance, make changes we do, they prove them, then they need to abide by them like we have to abide by them.
Okay, well, all right, on that, Ryan, you drafted the solar ordinance, I suppose you could explain to us why the change.
As far as,
Why the change away from the BZA to the APC with the approval of the commissioners.
well, I mean, that's, in drafting it, we put it up both ways. If you had the opportunity to sit in the commissioners' summit meeting, during that meeting, as far as the commissioners' council, growth council, solar companies, everyone was pretty much unanimous as far as bringing it to the commissioners. When we come back for the workshop, is when we started getting feedback. And obviously, we've had it out to the APC since July. It wasn't until November that we started getting feedback. The commissioners put it out there both ways to debate. That's kind of where we're trying to get to the workshops and public hearings.
I don't believe we heard about this until November.
Yeah, I started hearing, I heard the Ashley.
Area Plan Commission has had draft 1, draft 2, draft 3, draft 4, Commissioner Summit meeting, and then a workshop. It's been brought up in every public meeting since August. I've asked for suggestions. I've asked for concerns.
But if we go the way it should be ran, the commissioners should have been told from the get-go. To my opinion, it should have been told from the get-go. This is the step, but we use this, this, and this, and leaving out the truth step.
Rex, I did not hear that in November. Is that correct?
And I heard a couple of commissioners saying they want it in their hand hard. That's why I'm talking out loud in the public to let the commissioners, they need to follow the orders they set forth to us to follow, they need to follow.
Okay. Well, also, there's a couple of amendments to the solar ordinance that we talked about in the joint meeting. And I just put them down on paper, and we can briefly talk about them a little bit more. Yeah, you got the same. Okay. Basically, the major points with this is that the proposed type of SFES, which is a solar system, is to be used in the equipment manufacturer and known location of the producing plant, and a statement guaranteeing that the panels were produced using non-slave labor. Senator Jim Banks has let it be known that he's concerned that where a lot of these solar panels are being built is in the province of China that is enslaved Uyghur Muslims, possibly making these panels. So I think it would be in our own best interest if we consider adding something that says we want panels that were produced with non-slave labor. We want that guaranteed. Who manufactured it and where. Also, setbacks were a major discussion in this, and that the current ordinance has a setback of 250 feet from a dwelling to the solar panel. And that could be less than from the property line. Because if your house sets back a ways from the property line, that's in that 250 feet. It's to the panels, to the structure. Now in the joint meeting, 1,000 foot was suggested, along with a few other suggestions. Another county here in Indiana, Adams County, they have in their solar ordinance 1,450 feet. That really protects property owners from having their home devalued and not right up against a solar field. which may stretch for 1,000 acres or more. Okay, they also, that the developer shall offer a property value guarantee acceptable to the county that will make solar array neighbors whole financially in the event that proximity to the utility scale solar development is harmful to residential property values. This shall be made available to all property owners within 1 mile of project boundary. And I know there are studies out there that say the detrimental effect to property values is minimal. And there are ones out there that say it is not minimum, it can be rather substantial. This is kind of new, and we don't actually know, but we kind of feel that if you're real close to a solar farm, 250 feet from your house, there's going to be an impact to your property. That's probably going to happen.
50 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
What should I have on that?
Yes, we said 1,400.
I know, but they first said 250 feet.
Right.
This agreement I had was 250 feet. It say I'm the adjacent property owner, and there's enough room on my property to build a garage in the future. But they're going from my house. They're not gonna go where in the future I'm gonna build a garage.
Yeah.
So 250, is that gonna stop me from building my garage?
I don't think it
Attached to
would.
my house?
That's just
Would
a
stop you?
setback.
That's a question I had.
The solar panels have to be that far away.
If they build them, you can build closer, but if they build them, it's like.
Because when it said 250 feet, then I thought, if I'm the adjacent property owner and I build a garage, you have to make it closer than 250 feet, I couldn't build my garage.
You still do.
Okay.
Okay.
I just
Now,
want to make sure. that-
yeah, to move through here, there's one other part of the agreement that is really of major importance, and that's the decommissioning plan. Like 30 years from now, when this solar field is taken down, if it's taken down then or before or later, that all the solar panels be recycled upon the end of the project life or facility abandonment. Not just removed and thrown in the dump, but actually recycled. There is at least one company in the United States now that recycles their solar panels into new solar panels. But there will be more, because this is going to be a fairly big industry, and there is going to be a huge glut of panels going out of service in 30 years. So panel recycling, that's really going to be a must. So, anyway, I would call for a motion to approve or discussion to change this. And we'll forward it to the APC where they can discuss what they want to do with it. If they want to approve it, change it.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve what we have on this paper and the APC for the approval of the.
Okay, we have a motion to approve as is. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Is anybody else allowed to talk, or are we just going to listen?
This-
This is my first time here.
The Area Planning Commission, which is our next meeting, they are actually the recommending body. BZA is just making a recommendation to the APC.
Right. In the next meeting, there would be a chance for public input.
Does you want it to be after the fact?
No, because
This is.
we're just recommending to the APC our thoughts on the pending solar ordinance. They haven't even gotten to the point yet of where they're voting on it.
And I picked that up, and I pardon if I'm out of.
No, you're not out of line.
Out of line. Yeah, because everything we're saying there is spot on in terms of setbacks and, I mean, there's many other concerns besides that. And I know they haven't decided whether or not we're actually on the zone yet.
Yeah, the ordinance is still in the discussion stages.
You gotta be very careful, because you got this long to make a decision.
Yes, Lois. Yeah, they could. I've only got a couple extras. Yeah. I wasn't really expecting very many people. I only have a couple copies here right now.
Typically, these things don't provide a lot of benefit to the community. So the community has to really, if you've got a copy, that'd be great.
Yeah, we don't, we want to I just want everybody to be able to know what we're talking about.
Thank you, Lord.
There's a few more copies.
You'd like to speak about that.
At this point, these are just recommendations.
Understood, that's what we're doing. Anybody interested?
Yeah. And my family had several questions. We wanted to educate ourselves about the solar farm itself. And I don't know, is there one person that has that information?
Well, yeah, and the next meeting is the Area Plan Commission, who's actually working on this solar ordinance. Because we were involved in this area, we just wanted to make a couple recommendations here. Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have any other motion or a second?
Second.
We have a couple of seconds. Okay. Brenda, would you give us a roll call?
Powell,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Maynard.
Yeah,
Okay, motion passed. At this time, I believe that concludes our business. If there is any public input at this time, we have just a few minutes that we can hear from you. You would need to come up to the podium and speak.
I don't have anything to fear. I do live in the community, my name is Andy Ellis.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Been here basically my whole life, other than when I was at Purdue, so I'm a Grant County resident. And lots of times these type of opportunities, I mean, the opportunity here is much different than, say, the distribution center, because it provides lots of jobs for people in the community, or even the hospital that's going in. Again, provides lots of opportunities for locals. Is there any way to ensure that there's going to be not just tax benefit, which, I mean, if you take the benefit from taxes and aggregate this across the community, it's probably going to be like 50 cents for everybody in Grant County. So it's not going to be a big tax benefit. I mean, that's been my experience. But anyway, we do know they got to put it in, right? And wouldn't it be beneficial if we would write in somehow so that we knew that at least the local community was providing the labor to install? I know oftentimes these type of packages come in from out of state. They just come in and they just take over and then they're gone. And then we live with the outcomes. So it certainly would be, I mean, they'll say that there's a lot of benefit from jobs, big jobs and that kind of stuff. But I mean, we've got people that do excavating around here. We got people that are engineers around here. We got people that are electricians, skilled labor all over this community. And why wouldn't we let them install this? Or at least have a high hand on it?
well, we did ask that question with them, and they said they would try as much as they could.
Get it in writing,
You have
man.
to get them right.
Get it in writing, yeah, they'll try. And then for the setback rules, I totally support the setback rules. The people that, if I understand where this is going to be, I mean, it's not gonna be very pleasant for them. Is there any way that they're gonna be compensated and taken care of for what it's gonna do to them on a personal level? Or are they gonna, if they have to leave, are they gonna, somebody gonna buy their house for them?
All these questions will need to be brought up at the next meeting, that'll be the APC.
The plan commission, I mean, you guys already voted to go ahead and go filter it, right?
No.
So we're just
The only thing we voted on is because it should come to us. And the commissioners want to change that way, instead of following the regular rules that's usually set forth in this county. We're giving our recommendation to the APC, who's gonna give a recommendation to the commissioners. And this, what we voted on, was telling the APC, this is the way we like to see it, then to give it to the commissioners.
But there weren't a lot of conditions in there, right?
Well,
Not that I followed this document.
these are just
Way the
amendments
order
that we
goes.
proposed to the existing ordinance. And this is one page, but the ordinance itself is many pages. So, all we were doing was making a few suggested amendments to the APC was considering this ordinance.
Yeah, and I applaud that. I just think that it needs to be expanded exponentially.
That's what we're trying to do, tell them why, and hoping they will follow our suggestion to send to the commissioners.
Yeah, and in the next meeting, you'll hear more about the actual ordinance.
Okay. I just want to make sure the ship hasn't sailed.
No, it's still in discussion stage.
It's still not.
Grab that anchor.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Do we have your name?
Linda Morgan, I'm from Upland. Troublemaker over there, just asking. And you guys have already had a meeting with this company? Someone has had a meeting with them?
No, we had a summit where they was invited, and our county people were invited, and we were discussing how we wanted an ordinance set up for these solar panels. And if they had any opinion like you, they could give it.
Solar companies did send some representatives to the joint meeting between the BZA and the APC. So we did hear some of their opinions.
Okay, well, I said I had a lot of questions and I'm gonna just read through them. I don't expect answers right now. I expect that probably for the next meeting. But I don't know if you've thought of all of these. I assume there's already a place where the panels would be located. Did they, no, they haven't made that decision yet. And then, who benefits and how? Is the landowner benefited? I know the windmills, I've seen the homes in that area, they were able to upgrade their homes and that kind of thing, so that was a benefit. And who would be
leasing land would benefit.
leasing?
Leasing land to
Yes.
a solar company. Yes,
Yes.
they would benefit.
And then, who is going to be using the electricity?
It will jump on the grid, and it will not
Bye-bye.
necessarily stay here.
Ed,
But
can I-
it'll be part of the grid.
Can I make a suggestion? If you get on YouTube, if you go to Grant County Government on YouTube, you can actually watch the Commissioner's Solar Summit meeting. And also you can watch the entire APC BZA Solar Workshop. A lot of those questions will be answered in there. A lot of that has been brought up.
Okay,
We're hoping to do another solar workshop in which we're trying to work towards the adoption process and actually getting the ordinance towards public hearings that is really, really meant to get public input.
okay. I know you guys are ready to go, but is there going to be a secondary use of the land? Is there any, have they come up with anything besides just having wasted land?
There are no restrictions on secondary use in the ordinance.
There is screening next to neighbors, and there's suggestion on different grasses and flowers and shrubs to use.
So like when they come in, they gotta put blockers, don't touch the trees up.
To control erosion and screen a little bit adjacent property.
But you can't let your animals graze on the owner's property, the owner. I
I
mean,
think the property is to be fenced.
yeah, but if it's being leased, then it's still owned by
The
the
owner
person.
owns it, but he has leased it and he's giving up use of it.
Okay, okay. And then, are we, is there anyone in the States that manufactures?
There are US manufacturers.
Okay, I think that might be a real big factor. And will this change our bills? And who is in charge of the upkeep? Will it be kept up?
The solar company is in charge of it.
We do have during the development process, we will have maintenance agreements, road use agreements, decommissioning agreements. I mean, there's a whole list of things before it ever gets out of area plan on a development. It's going to go soil erosion, it's going to go to the highway department, it's going to go to the drainage board. We're going to cross dot a lot of I's, cross a lot of T's before it ever moves out of our office.
Okay, and I know this isn't really relevant to you guys, but do we know who the major investors are going to be?
Well, right now, and throughout central Indiana right now, we have got about 5 to 6 solar investors that are interested, companies that are interested in Green County right now, but we don't have any actual development plans yet. We know there is interest because of the way the grid comes through Grant County, but as far as knowing exactly where the projects are or what the projects are going to be, we're not to that point yet.
Okay.
Our focus right now is really, like we've talked about with the BZA currently, right now, solar farms are allowed. They're allowed by special exception through the BZA. The problem is, once approved, we have no regulations. We've currently got 4 solar farms in Grant County. We've got one in Madison Grant, one in Oak Hill. We've got one in Gas City, and we've got one at AEP. 2 of those went through the BZA. 2 of those got installed without going through the BZA.
Mm-hmm.
Again, no regulations. We've got no drainage. We've got no decommissioning. We've got no. So it becomes the point is they are currently allowed. Do we want to regulate? And do we want to regulate?
Oh, yes.
So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
Because you were talking about the highway, damage to the roads from trucks.
Right. So right now, what we're trying to do is get an ordinance in place so that we can regulate those solar farms when they come in.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about, not having them made by slave labor. That was a big thing. And the recycling afterwards, is that going to be a definite?
I think they suggested recycling. I think the way the ordinance reads right now is salvage. I think they're looking at that as one of the salvage and recycling.
And then liability and so on, that needs to be in there. And who's responsible if the field becomes abandoned?
We'll have a decommissioning plan. If they abandon it, we will have a performance bond in place that if they don't take care of it, that we've got the money in place to take care of it ourselves.
Good, okay. And then, do you know if there's any studies that have been done about the health effects to the neighbors and so on?
I'm sorry?
If there's any studies that have been done regarding the people around the fields?
Based on my research, there is no long-term study on the health effects of solar fields and people nearby them.
Okay.
And if they have one, I'd like to see it.
That's all I have. Thank you guys for listening to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Already been decided? I mean, you said.
No, nothing's been
Hear me
decided.
out. But you said that they're already allowed. They are.
We have already had them, but we have not had a solar ordinance. And what he's trying to do right now is get a solar ordinance together. And we're making some suggestions to put in it. And that's where we're at. The APC is charged with leading this discussion, leading this ordinance.
And nothing to the scope of what they're suggesting.
Yeah, right now, land use tables in the state of Indiana would consider a solar farm a utility. Utilities are allowed in Grant County in every zone with the exception of mobile homes, through a special exception through the BZA. So we've had two go through that way. The problem or the issue that we run into is we've got zero regulation. If they decide to get up and leave, nothing we can do.
And what we wanted to do is get control of these people that come here, like you said, and there's no benefit to the county whatsoever. So, and we want to get control of that.
Okay, at this time, we are out of time, and the APC is the next meeting up. So I thank you all for your comments and appreciate your input. Thank you, and the meeting is adjourned.
For those that haven't figured it out yet, they tore the bathrooms out this afternoon. They're remodeling the bathrooms. We didn't know it until we got out. So just so you're aware.
This is the wrong one. No. The other one. I got them separate. Yeah, the ones that I know. There we go.
I'll do the meeting.
Jim, we're having you guys want to sit over there?
Wherever you want us to sit.
Wherever you guys want to sit. We've got you guys separated because there's more of you guys between these two tables.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't show Might get one meeting very fine, and kids and parents got just staying at home or vacation. There's a crossword puzzle, keep the line, write the letter. I can pull it back. He sits down
Okay, do we need to make one up real quick? Well, on the back of
she was little. But it gets their side of the cold match there. My grandson. Good here in the city. That's the thing we've got longevity. Somebody said, you got it here. We'll see when I die if I have it.
And typically, this type of thing is not real.
So these all my forwarded comments.
I'm hopping in on
This recycling.
Yeah.
Harvard business.
Oh, I
Yes, I did. Just in case you were like, oh, it's not there.
We got a couple of them. Am I gonna be by myself over there?
You can move.
Yeah, but what they usually do is I agree with what you're saying, but what I agree with.
All right, let's call to order the meeting for December 6th for Area Claims Commission. Brenda, if you could call the roll, please.
Bothwell. Frankel.
Here.
Cottle. Cows.
Here.
Crouch. I guess Gossett. Fleming. Maynard.
Here.
Mallory. Knuckles.
Virtually here.
Todd.
Here. Here. So with the couple up there and here, we do have a form to reflect.
Ron was up there.
Well, maybe he'll come back. All right, so we're gonna stand for a pledge. We'll face east. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get that out of order. All right, so we got 2 minutes to approve, 2 different sets of minutes, one from our November 1st meeting, and then the special joint session with BZA and us, November 15th here. Those minutes went out through email, and then I believe a packet went out too. So any discussions on the November 1st regular meeting? There were no petitions, so basically we had different discussions of things that were going on in the county.
I'll make a motion, we set them.
All right, we have a motion by Rex to approve the minutes, and a second. Ryan made a second. Call the roll.
Frankel.
Yes.
Crouch. Cows.
Jane.
Gossett.
Yes.
Fleming. Maynard.
Yes.
Mallory. Knuckles.
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Got 5 yeses.
Need to be a 6?
That should be 7.
Okay. Over the next meeting, and/or just because you were not here doesn't mean that you cannot vote for minutes. Yeah, maybe that may not be a good idea. Oh, you just want to hold it over to the next meeting? So are we going to be able to pass the other meeting minutes for the special meeting?
I'd like to make a suggestion before we talk about the next meeting minutes.
Okay?
I think we should stay in the next meeting and have them better written. This is not a complete minute of the last meeting.
It does list that basic we discussed. We didn't make any determinations. What would you like to see in them?
I'd like to see it more written because this is very vague of stuff that was done was said last meeting, during our joint meeting.
And we could do that, I mean, it was with the holidays and that's why we wanted to get something general and get it out.
Okay, which I can understand, but, because we didn't make any formal decisions at that meeting, that was all fact finding, but maybe we should put some of the highlights of what was discussed.
Yeah, because I feel like if we don't, if
Okay.
anybody wants to argue this in the future in the court of law,
But we've got it on record, I mean, it's on.
I mean, I know, but
Yeah,
usually
but
on
the-
paperwork when you prove something.
Yeah, usually.
It's an
It's
eight
the
written.
video message record too.
Yeah, I mean, if we prove this portion, what I'm trying to say is, we're saying this is the minutes, and you know, I know what you got. And if you go to court of law, a lot of times,
It's usually the.
if it ain't written, you didn't say it.
Okay. All right, we'll go back and polish them up. We'll have the office polish them up a little bit. Sounds good. All right, so public hearings for the night, there are no petitions on file. So going through the rest of the evening, we're gonna have reports out of, our attorney, Kyle Persinger, and as executive director, Ryan Malott, will just go over some issues that are at hand that we may need to discuss, give some direction on. I know we got one other concerned citizen out there that would like to make a statement. And then, we'll need to adopt the 2022 schedule for the upcoming year. And then if we decide to have a special business meeting or a special meeting for solar investigation some more, we'll need to discuss that also tonight. So we do have several items to bring up. Solar ordinance is one of the discussed items. We'll save that to the end so that there'll be plenty of, hopefully, time to discuss. Like I said, there'll be no official decisions per se made tonight. There may be some consensus, maybe, but I don't look to doing a whole lot to get to a root thing, because this is a craft, this ordinance, it's already in its fourth draft that we're trying to formulate so that we can get to eventually publishing an ordinance and having a public hearing and hopefully recommending forward from that. So, Kyle, do you have anything out of your office?
Just very briefly, we had court last Friday, the Hovermail property and the Marine property. I know Hovermail's been since 2015, I think. So we did get favorable judgments on both, and hopefully should see some action on both those properties being cleaned up.
All right.
That's all I have.
That's all you have?
Yep.
Okay. Ryan? You got several items here. Where would you like to start?
I sent out an email to, I believe, everyone on the APC discussing the property directly across from the Nelsons. You remember the Nelsons came in and signed a written agreement back in June?
Yeah, somewhere in the summertime.
And we had a discussion again in November. It was brought to our attention that directly across the street, we've got the same situation going on. Again, with a storefront, with a shop.
That's a boutique.
I thought I added that. So, well, if you guys have seen the email, the biggest thing, you know, again, with everything that we kind of went through with the written agreement for the Nelsons, I'm looking for what you guys want me, how you want me to proceed with the property across the street. We've also gotten that property across the street. They have built an addition to the home with no permit. The zoning for the property does not allow retail sales. So we've got a lot of things going on, even on this property. We found them this summer putting the roof on without a permit So what I am asking with everything that happened across the street, what do you want me to do?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I mean, it has been brought to our attention, so we cannot ignore it.
Yeah, we can.
You know, so if they are in violation of our ordinances or codes or what have you, then they should probably be needed to address. You concur, Kyle, on issues like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every discretionary function, but
Right.
you have a known violation.
Right, so I don't think we could turn our head. So I think as a commission, I guess, Brian, you're wanting direction on how far I probably pursue any violation or whatever building.
And just before the meeting, I had all this stuff ready to go. I was sent this right before the meeting today. As far as opening shops, they've had events out there. They've had 50-foot slide, bouncy houses the size of a turbine, and on and on.
And the Nelsons owns that too.
No, this is one of the neighbors that called to complain on the Nelsons when all of that stuff.
I thought the Nelson owned the boutique too, across the street, another piece of property.
They do, and they went through us to do it, to get it rezoned with a written agreement.
Yeah, I remember that.
The one across the street.
If they're at the corner, then you go across the street, just down a ways, up the driveway, they have a boutique.
That's who we're talking about. They're
That's
not
a different owner.
That's a different owner.
That's a different person.
That's only have a boutique, they're running a homeschool in addition that they didn't have a permit to build for.
What's the name?
It is the Merck, Farmhouse Merck. And the name of the school, as you pass it around, but I sent that out.
Yeah, the last couple of years, they had vents out there. I heard of them having vents out there.
So again, you know, in talking to code enforcement and building inspectors and talking about being fair and consistent, that's kind of where we're at. But I know it's kind of a touchy situation with everything that we went through, so I'm bringing it to you guys just to
Make us aware and for guidance. So I would say any discussion or thought?
Question I have, what we usually do when people don't get permits?
So you go back there.
Well, I mean, if they
What is
didn't-
up, we have any fines or penalties?
if we find out a permit, we double the permit. We generally would give them, you know, that day to get in and get the proper permit. If they don't come in, then we put a stop work order. If they don't comply with the building code, then we give a stop work order.
But all that's already done, so just we
No,
go back
we
in.
haven't done anything.
Right.
That's-
So-
I wanted to talk to you guys.
Yeah, so we need to go in and see what we can remedy. So as far as the homeschooling, we gotta do investigations, see if that's proper on the property and stuff like that. Because I imagine with all the homeschooling going on around, whether it's considered a business or homeschooling, so we need to tread lightly on that so we know exactly.
Well, on what was built on as far as the homeschooling, again, it's an addition that was built on with no permit. So we've
Well,
done
then
zero inspections.
Then we need to get in there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We make sure that whatever they did is the code, and then follow our fees and fine schedule for whatever's allowed.
And then my thought process was to actually have a conversation with them as far as a
Yeah.
agreement,
Right.
like everything else,
Yeah.
to get them back to us.
Yeah, same procedure, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense, be consistent. All right. You got enough guidance on that? Okay.
Next thing I had was, as you know, we are working on rules and procedures in both BZA and APC. We had discussed in the November meeting about putting forth a committee to start working on that. We have yet to meet on that. I just wanted again to bring it up.
Yes, I was going through it again here, looking through all the red line. There's a lot in there, like I say, if you're here early enough, here's someone BZA was doing, and I was seeing ours are similar. A lot of it's good, just some of it's got to be brought up to current statutes and right numbers. And like I said, some things need to be dropped off because they're not applicable anymore. And then, so we do need to proceed on this and get this rolling. BZA was actually going to have maybe special meetings or block off, to do like so many sections a night when they have a meeting, get that formulated, set it aside, and get the next section done, set it aside, and then when you complete it, do a whole thing all at one time to get things cleaned up. So that may be a method. I know we had several members on our board that wanted to head up that, so we'll see where they're at, if we're still working at it. Okay, we'll wait the solar ordinance till the end.
Next up, as far as Camp Manju over in Jonesboro, we did get in there and meet with the state. The state actually went in and talked to Mr. Puckett prior to us arriving. By the time we got there, Mr. Puckett had left. Part of what Mr. Puckett was supposed to do was call us last week, and we did not receive a phone call. So now we are still sitting and waiting to hear from Ken, and this has been going on for about 5 years. So hopefully at some point we hear from him this week. If you remember from last month, this is a property that had a commercial design release that expired, as well as the building permits expired on it. Mr. Puckett said that the building was going to be used for storage only, and then we found out that he was actually renting it out to a motorcycle club out of Marion, in a building that's not allowed to have any type of public in it. We do have ordinance violation signs up on the doors right now. Again, we were in with the state inside. They've talked to Mr. Puckett, and now we are waiting on Mr. Puckett to get back with us.
Okay. So what does the state tell them? That it don't have to be used for storage?
As that building stands right now, it requires a commercial design release and requires another building permit. There are things that he can do that would get him out of having to get a state design release, but he would still have to get a building permit. The bottom line is currently the building does not have a certificate of occupancy on it and cannot have public. So
you use it for private storage.
Yeah.
That's
no out.
So that's where we're sitting right now. Trying to coordinate the stuff with the state to get all of that done before this meeting. We just did it at the end of last week. So we'll keep you posted on that. The Liberty Trailer Park at corner 9 and 26, that's not on here. It's another one just to quickly talk about. We did get a phone call from them. If you remember, we were having issues with septic. The owners, we found out it was in a tax sale, and then they were going to talk to us, and then it was for sale, and then they were going to talk to us and didn't show up. Well, we received a phone call this week or the end of last week that there is now a new owner out there. And they are going to look into the septic issues in the park. So just kind of a heads up, and that's where we're at with that.
So hopefully they know what they're getting into.
Well, they've been in touch with us, they've been in touch with state health.
Okay, so maybe
they've been in touch with
right.
local health department.
That'd be good.
Nicole, do you want to speak on demos?
Just a quick question. Do you want to call Ron back?
Yeah.
Then I'll.
Just real quick, while she's doing that. We had discussed fees and fines at the last meeting. I have went through and done comparisons for several jurisdictions. So I do have that in the works as far as getting fees and fines put together.
Okay. As far as cases, like Kyle stated, we finally went to court to get Hoover Mill and the property of Reams over in Fairmount cleaned up. The judge has allowed us to where we got a scheduled a walk-in for this week for Hoover Mill. It is Friday. Myself, Ryan, Aaron, and the health department will be making a walkthrough. If he has what it is cleaned up, then hopefully we can close it out and he can live in his home. If not, then we'll take measures after that. With the Rings case, we're giving her until April to get her property cleaned up, removing one of the trailers that she has and all the vehicles that are disabled removed. Of course, if she does not have that done by April 1st, the judge has allowed us to come in right after that and do it ourselves, with all costs being placed on the property. We've got several new cases started. We've actually got a lot of communication on some of those new cases. We are getting some of 38th Street here in Marion. With those individuals that I started cases on, they are actually cleaning it up. We had a few come in last week to discuss their properties. There was something else. I just had it too. Oh, contracts. We have now got 5 contracts back. We've got the one from Upland back that I've got to work on getting a route for that demolition. We've got 3 for homes. And on the Van Buren building, we finally got all contact with the 3 owners on the outside. They're going to sign their contracts, get that sent to us. Unfortunately, we're still taking Moto Leader, the center individual, to court to get a court order to demolish. And I believe as of Friday, we are able to submit all that documentation. Correct.
Close.
Yeah.
Close Friday or not.
Yeah.
I thought we were working towards it, because that's a major problem up when they're wanting to try to
Yes.
control.
Well, but also with the one in Van Buren, one of the things that we had talked about, with the demo contracts and the dollar amounts, and we had feedback that they didn't understand they'd have to pay for it and this and that. We had a conversation, Kyle and I, and Van Buren's. I told them, we need to get that thing to the ground. The wall's falling out, it's bowing out. I'm thinking that is going to be somewhere close to what we took down in Jonesboro, which we were able to get down for just about $6,000. I would rather get that building down than to worry about money. We've got the money in the unsafe structure.
Right.
So
we just gotta get the middleman to sign off. Is that the one that's the middle?
Yeah, but he probably won't. If we've had no contact with him since 2019, when he sent us a letter at the beginning of COVID stating that he was planning on turning into a motorcycle shop.
That's the one we're in court in, right, on to get a demolition order.
So we'll
So
have
the
to
other
order
3 property owners
that
are gonna
volunteer.
voluntarily to demolish.
Right, so this one we got a court order, we're going that route.
Yeah,
And hopefully
that'll
that'll,
have a default judgment because
Right.
we've obtained service in California.
Yes.
Perfected service, so they have time to answer, they have not answered. So
So
when
that
that
just-
deadline passes, they submit an order to the court.
sounds good.
So, I mean, we felt on that building, either let's get it done and get it down, or
Yes.
we can screw with this thing for another few
No,
months.
as soon as we get the judgment, we should take care of it, I think. It's been,
The other news, for one of our properties, we got a check for,
Oh, yes. New Life Properties in Jonesboro paid off their bill. They sent us a check just after our November 4th meeting.
$4,300.
okay,
We are getting money back from our donors.
sounds good. Good. So we can do more.
Other than that, as of right now, I've actually got a lot of work done since the commissioners gave us our part-time individuals. So with Grace on hand, council, I'm sorry, council approved it. Grace has been helping me get deadlines, letters written and sent out. So we're actually moving quicker, but still at a slow pace. I'm not saying we're completely caught up, but we're a lot further than where I was before Grace started.
Good.
So that is everything I have.
Okay. Anything else, Ryan, before we go to?
Yeah, I think there's all the good stuff.
Okay, before we go to the solar ordinance discussion a little bit, like I say, we don't plan on doing a long time on that. We did have Jerry Smith, a resident, that's building a house out in Sweetser, that has some comments or issues within his property. May not be the best forum for discussion, but I told him he can come up and state his case. And we as a body really may or may not be able to help or resolve the issue, but he would like to talk to Jerry. I'll give you the floor for a little bit about your home or what you're building out there. If you come up to the podium so that the speaker can pick you up.
Chuck, I would remind you that this should be in the BZA.
Most likely, because he's going to discuss some things that's happening within his property. Like I said, we probably will not be able to do anything at this meeting specifically. You may need to go back to BZA or may not be able to go anywhere. So, Jared?
Hey, I know some of you. My name is Jerry Smith. I've been a home builder for 47 years. And I've never had a problem. I built 102 houses, and this is the first time. This is the second duplex. I built one in '77 in Swayze. So, but this is in Sweetser. As a matter of fact, it's one. My wife and I plan on moving on to one side. We lived out south for 51 years. But my electrician, his name is Jeff Anger, and he's worked for me for 6 years. And Jeff done Rodney Falk's house. They're on Fox Run, which is 3,200 square feet, and the total square footage is these two is about 2,100. That was inspected by the city, and we never had any problem. But like I say, Jeff took a lot longer than we thought he was, and so I had to hire somebody else. And the ironic thing is, in 1988, I was the one that proposed to get a building inspector. And the commissioners agreed to do it. I told them what was the problem was there was electrical problems in the outlet in the east of town. They was running the three-way switch with the travel. It was using the ground. And I told them,
Hey, Jerry, let's get to the problem rather of whatever issues that you have or whatever.
Well, they're saying that, they said that we didn't get the inspected in time. And Ryland says that there's 200 openings total. And they want to cut a hole. You see, I plaster houses, I have a drywall. But the plaster is concrete. And they want to cut a hole in every outlet. And it would cost me over $20,000 to fix it after that. I'm up $400,000 for this place to start. So I told him I can't stand that, and I proposed that we use a scope, either go in the box or just drill a 3/8 hole. And this device is a scope. It's three-way. It has, it'll look 3 ways just to go in and see if the wires were stapled. And then also the mopper insulation, which I've used for 47 years. They've insulated every house I had and caulked. And there's 2-way where the wires go up through the plates and there, you know, the code says that you gotta have it caulked it, but Monper has always foamed it most of the time. The foam, you know, it was a fire retardant. And so they said that if it's required to have caulk, they would come and do it. And then my sales rep at Monper says, don't they consider that we blew in 14 inches of blanket clear, you know, all the you know, the cross, or the attic, got 14 inches fire retardant. He said, there's no way that fire could ever get through there, that 14 inches of fire retardant blown insulation. He said, that's just defeating the purpose, you know? And so that's what I never thought about that, but that makes sense to me, you know?
So I know we talked on the phone, I think, in the last week. I think what it comes down to is, and I feel for you, but when you're building, you need to call the inspector out for certain things. I know from talking to Ryan that we were called out, and you agreed that they did come out when we did the framing, and you did framing and got that bought off. And that was the last time we heard from whoever your current electrician was or the former electrician was until you got to this state. So there's inspections that were missed before you put the drywall up, or on your case, plaster, so that we could visibly see what's behind the walls before it's covered up. So for us, or for Ryan and the department to go and say, pass it, that'd be wrong. Not only for whoever's gonna live there. I mean, by us signing and say, this is built to code. Should be a safe house, and we don't have no guarantees that it is.
And just like the insulation, I'm a fireman. You can say that's fire resistant, until you get up in that attic and there's fire, there's always fire in the attic. Just because they're fire resistant, flowing insulation up there, that electricity underneath there can cause fire. I've been up there watching smolder, and I've been out in the last 30 years, I fought fire. So, yes, they say this is fire resistant, but it's not 100% guaranteed. So when people say things are fire resistant, they ain't. This new manufacturing wood they're using is the worst thing when they have a fire. Because I can tell you the fire, the house burns 3 times faster. Why do you think trailers and modules burn the way they do?
We have some photos, penetration this year. This specific case.
Okay, so I'm going to speak on behalf of my father. My name is Ryan Smith.
Okay.
I'm his son. I've been building with my father for 35 years as well. All we're looking for, and we're not disputing it, you know, nothing got caught. I know Ryan does a great job, does his job. We're just trying to help the process along. Will you guys allow him, or, you know, if Ryan can come out and he can visually see with an in-scope, instead of cutting 200 holes into the wall, would it be allowable for him to look and see maybe a dozen holes to see staples are used?
Well, we've already got pictures of holes in there that do have the fire foam, which we don't allow. In most jurisdictions, a lot of jurisdictions don't. That I can actually take that fire foam and light it on fire and talk to you why it's burning.
Okay, so what's the plan? What's the fix on that? We just
It's gotta be fire call. We also got pictures of several holes with nothing in them. The electricians got up and took pictures for us and come back down frustrated because, you know, again, with what we're into, we know that about 75% of your electric's going to have to be replaced. They're going to have to pull those wires through, put wires back up. So even though we put a little hole to scope, how are you going to refire the penetrations through the sills?
So if you're making him re-pull new wire?
According to everything we've got in our building sector,
So those aren't stapled, so where's the thought in that?
but they're fire caulked at the penetration, however you want to.
So we just can't replace the caulk? We can't replace that caulk?
It's a brand new structure.
It lasts 70 to 100 years, and who's to say that's gonna last 70 to 100 years? All the holes that we've got now.
Is it the caulk at the top plate? Is that what you're talking in the attic?
One of many places, there's a lack of sill plates, we didn't see the plumbing, there's numerous issues.
Lack of sill plates?
You took a picture of the
Couple. I think what it comes down to, without the call to rough in, I'm not comfortable putting my name to the finished product and guaranteeing that nothing's gonna happen in 70, 100 years, that someone's not gonna get hurt.
We walked the house, here you were there, we walked the house with the electrician who pointed out all of these electrical issues. With the amount of electrical issues that we can see, we're real uncomfortable with the electric we can't see. And on top of that, again, how do we ensure that fire caulk is in place to create that envelope?
What I'm proposing is, you know, to scope the first 12, and if they're all stapled, you know, I don't see any use to do the other 200. You know, to me, that just makes sense. You know, why you do all of them if every one of them?
Well, I think we gotta do all of them because it wasn't done right in the first place.
If I only say to fix this here, like he's saying, he's gonna agree on that electric. In 2 months, 3 months, you have a fire there, and a inspector comes in from the state, because the fire department and said, this was all done wrong. Why didn't he catch it? And they're gonna come back to him and want to sue him and the office for what they said done right.
Becomes liable. We hold a liability for all buildings.
Yeah.
Code says the local jurisdiction
I've
shall
seen that
ensure this
happen
building
out in
will
fire
also-
stuff on people proof.
Can we have you discuss with Jeff Anger, this electrician, to come out there and discuss the two panels?
I think
The way
Expert
they're-
Electric
the way
has
they
been
work?
out there twice, and they've given him.
I'm not talking about this electrician, I'm talking about the one that originally wired it.
Is that the unregistered, unlicensed electrician?
I did not know he was unregistered and unlicensed.
Yes.
He's a maintenance at Marion General Hospital as an
I'm
electrician,
just telling
so.
you, he's not registered or licensed through us. One time we were out there, they moved what temporary meter they had already set up, and none of the electric was done at that point.
He's a union electrician.
Well, he's done work for us in the past and it never had a problem. It passed several other jobs before, so.
I think we're willing to work with you, but I don't think there's gonna be any short or quick fix with the amount of work involved, and they have to feel comfortable signing off, and whatever that takes is probably what's gonna have to be done. Because,
And if I'm not mistaken, ADP won't meter it either.
That's correct. The engineer for the AP, James Stewart, told me they won't meter it given the current state of electric.
They're the ones that came out and told us how the configuration needed to be.
He was trying to work with them and help until Dixon got in there and took pictures from Expert Electric, and they realized how many issues there were.
Well,
I know.
Everything's been flagged and everything, and to run two powers, you know.
I understand that. Until things are brought up to current code, I can't sign off on it unless these guys tell me to, and I doubt they want to be held liable if something happens, God forbid.
Who are you? What's your name?
Aaron Ellsworth, I'm the building inspector for the county.
Question, how did it get this far?
We put a stop work on it, 12/2, between 7:30 and 10:21. We stopped out there 3 separate occasions to try to get in to conduct a roughing because we were not being called to a roughing. I happened to stumble upon Expert Electric trying to help him fix the electrical issues. So while we were waiting on a call for a roughing, I happened by there and there was already possessions moved in and they had already skipped that step.
A roughing is basically a call before you cover. We came back and found it covered.
But you approved one of the panels, right?
No, I said the right side was okay before it was wired. And from what Expert Electric has showed me, it was moved from that time. Between the time they got to it and the unlicensed electrician that you had put that in had put it in. It was moved. And now the electric was wired at that point. So no roughing was conducted prior to the drywall or plastic. Yeah, only the right side of the framing had started. So none of the drywall or the left side of the framing, none of the inspection said, okay, to drywall, which I do in every inspection under the rough-in part.
Did you look on the west side? You said it looked all right.
On the right side.
We're talking
So the
east
right
and
side
west. You
started.
gotta go east and west.
The west side.
Oh, the framing on the right side had started on my last inspection with him.
That'd be the east side.
7/8 partial framing, right side of duplex by me. And at that point, him and I discussed fire caulking, and I gave Mr. Smith a copy of code requirements for it. I write everything down.
But when you inspect that, the west side, the board hadn't even been hung yet.
That's why it says partial framing. It didn't say anything about board or caulk or electrical.
It was exposed when you were there.
Didn't see any electrical rants or I'd have made note.
What?
I did not see any electrical rant at that time, or I probably would have made note. That's prior to the meter going in anyways.
But I wouldn't know why you wouldn't just walk in there and see that.
I don't make it a habit to walk into the job site without someone present or being called to it.
Well, you were there.
Not with you, without you there. I don't just go into a construction site without a call or someone present. I don't have that right.
Well, you know, we called to have you come look.
Actually, you did not. There was between 7:30 and 10:21, 3 attempts were made to reach Mr. Smith in the form of leaving reminders at his address to perform a rough-in inspection.
How were those left?
By a blue friendly reminder, we call them. They were
Where?
left in the mailbox and taped to the address. The last one I left by the mailbox. The first two I taped to the
Mailbox where?
where your mailbox should be on the right side. I taped 2 of them at the door, set it where the concrete is. That goes around and the right side where you have a landing.
So you taped them so they could have blown off, or?
I used duct tape. I mean, I guess they could, but that was a 3-month stress or 3-month part where it's not on me to call for inspection.
I understand that.
So we tried to work with them.
What I'm asking if you would just agree, if we could scope, rather than cut holes and have to reframe and then put the plaster base back on and then replaster and then repaint, it's gonna be over $100 each one, like I said.
I got a question for you, Mr. Smith. So if they go and scope, say 10 of them, and find a problem with 10 of them,
Yeah.
you're still gonna have to tear out and replace, right?
Well, if we don't find anything and everything is fine, you know, why can't you just assume that everything else is?
Well, that would be bad.
That would, yeah.
It only takes one bad something somewhere.
But we already know as far as your fire stopping goes, we already know it's either foamed or doesn't have anything in it. We've already got those pictures.
I think our department, our office is willing to work, but there has to be reassurance, or I mean, they gotta feel comfortable signing off with whatever route it goes. We could look at the scope, that might be good for some areas, but I don't think it's gonna be good for every area, especially with insulation in the wall, right?
The thing about it is, I'm gonna live there.
Yeah, but that house is gonna hopefully be there for
But you
a
should have
long
known
time.
when you built a house, just like I did when I built my house. My bank, and I had to call inspection every so often. Come in, inspect and say, this was right. And the bank said we proved it, and the bank paid it. And I know the way area plans run. You have to get your inspection, and you should have known. When that electric is done before you apply for their drywall, it needed to be inspected, and you should have made sure they was there. So for them to prove it, I'm gonna have to agree with them. We gotta make sure it's 100% right, because I don't want Kyle to have to go to court with this if there's ever a fire. When the insurance company will come back and say, you proved it, and now the state's coming in, fire inspector, and saying, this is all faulty.
You ever see a house burn with 14 inches in it?
Yes, I have. I have seen other stuff, and I've seen houses burn. When people say they shouldn't burn. In my 30 years of fighting fire.
The fire come clear up through the 14 inches of insulation?
Yeah.
Fire caulking, it does.
Yeah.
Open penetration.
Yeah, it gets open penetration, and they'll get up there on a piece of wood or something underneath a piece of wood, and they'll sit there and motor. I see when we took shovels and shovels, insulation, open the vent in the house, and shovel out insulation.
Okay, we
To
get
get down there to make sure all the molding were smoldering in that fire out. So I kind of agree with them. We gotta prove that things are 100% right, or I wouldn't sign off.
Would you compromise if we just drill a 3/8 hole and run that scope in there?
If we can fire the penetrations,
What?
if we can get the penetrations fire caulk, but I don't know how you're gonna get the foam out of there and then caulk it.
Plus the new electrical.
Plus any new electrical that has to be done.
Momper said that they would caulk
Well, what about the electrical?
Okay, somebody explain to me about the new electrical. What is pulling your wire going to do? Because it's not going to be stapled against the studs.
Your wiring through the penetrations has to be sealed with the caulk.
Okay, so why can't we go ahead and penetrate where the wires come through now with the correct caulk? That's what I'm asking. That foam will pull right out of there. If it's the foam I'm thinking of.
So you're talking about going through soffit area from above.
Whatever it takes. Doing the army crawl all the way out to the outside walls.
And I'm fine with that. If there's a solution, I'm fine with it. As long as
We just have to come into an
sealed.
agreement. And I'll take pictures of doing it too, to ensure that it's done.
If we can do it that way, I don't have a problem with it.
And that includes your wiring with that electrical issue.
But again, I mean, you've got 14 gauge wire connected to 12 gauge wire to 20 amp. There's a whole laundry list that they went through and was showing us that.
Expert Electric did, they left him a printout.
He's got a list somewhere that's.
Well,
It's in that too.
that's what that other electrician, he blew holes through it, but he doesn't realize how we had it set up. We had.
Well, I know 14 gauge doesn't work with 20 amps.
The panel box outside, we were gonna put two 20 amp breakers to handle the air conditioner. You know that?
Yep, I saw them.
Well, why was you saying we needed 200 amps on the inside? And everything is gas. We got a 125 amp box in there. And we only got the range, or the dryer is the only 240. The rest of it is just burning lights. So that's why
Like I said, we've got a whole outline. We can piggyback. I mean, we can get into that later,
but I'm saying that other.
the furnace was ran off another separate circuit. We can go through the whole laundry list, right?
Okay.
I think Expert tried to show him that too.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking, if we could just scope it, so rather than cut all them holes in there, like I say,
I think a plan needs to be made that's acceptable on our end for proper approval. And we will work with you, but the fact that the walls were covered up, that's why we're in this why you're in this predicament, because the walls were covered before all this could have been tested or looked and verified, and so it could have been corrected before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So, I feel for you, but
after proposing the building inspector, I didn't know it was gonna bite me in the
Well.
ass. So that's all I just wanted to see if you'd work with me with putting that scope in rather than.
Well, that may be useful in some areas, but I don't know if it'll be helpful in all areas.
Brian, can we work directly with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thanks for hearing me out.
Okay.
I just wanted to see if you could compromise with me. That's all I'm asking.
All right, thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
So that brings us back to the solar ordinance. It is on the list. I don't intend to really speak or make any real issues or comments. If you were here early enough in the evening before the BZA wrapped up at the end, they had, because they were at our joint meeting last time, they do have a list of what they would like to see in there as far as wording, I guess you could say, related to setbacks, recycling, the route that they feel would be best for it to proceed from approval process. So we do have copies here, we get those out. I don't know how much do we want to talk on it tonight as far as, or do we want to go right to a?
I mean, I would suggest, looking at putting together another workshop so you can actually focus on solar. We've got, and whether or not the APC wants to put that forward in a public hearing. We know our three biggies are approval, setbacks, or cost, application and permitting fees. I think that's the three biggies coming through. If you want to get that into a public hearing or a workshop, and to concentrate on those to work towards a public hearing would be my suggestion. Because obviously we've got 2 hours to talk about it tonight, and it's already 8:20.
We're supposed to have an executive session afterwards.
I don't know that because this is going to get bigger and bigger. The closer we get, I don't know that you're ever going to be able to really focus on solar during a normal meeting.
So, yes. I wouldn't be opposed to having another meeting. I'm kind of disappointed that we only had 4 members present at the joint meeting. Well, maybe you might have been 5. You're double duty again.
Yeah, I'm double duty.
So I was kind of disappointed in the fact that we did not have, but all these things are been recorded. People have gone back and looked at it. Ryan's been doing a good job as far as sending out drafts and keeping us updated in areas that still need to be addressed.
I have a question,
Okay.
From a November 15th meeting, and I got my minutes this afternoon in the mail.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's when I got mine out, so you called me there.
I printed my packet out, so the mail must have been acting up again.
But as I was reading it says the solar company stated that if the setbacks increased to 1,000 foot, a moratorium on solar would happen. What are they talking about? I mean, they're
Well,
not running.
I think what they're saying, if you put it at 1,000 feet back, it'd make it nearly impossible for them to put their panels where they need them to be.
Yeah, that's
that plus, or they'd have to use a lot more farmland to get those setbacks. So it'd be
Dalton from Apex stood up and Brent just misunderstood him. But basically, he said if you put in a 1,000-foot setback, you would effectively be putting a moratorium. You've made it impossible for solar companies.
Well, I don't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're allowing them to put all on this farmland and everything, but I don't think they should be able to call the shots on what we do to the residents.
Right.
I mean, if they don't like what we come up with, why?
What they're saying is, if we go to setbacks that extreme, that they can go other places and build, where they don't have that much restriction. I mean, we'd effectively be saying, we don't want solar, there's $650 million of solar investment, that's okay, we don't want it.
Well.
So we gotta find that middle.
Yeah, the thing is, Brian, I mean, they're after all this farm property. I mean, that's where they're gonna have the big solar, and they don't really know if anybody's gonna put a solar in next to a neighbor or not.
Well, that's, again, we get into development. I mean, that's all gonna be part of the development process.
Yeah, I understand that, and people are putting solar on their roof, and they have no success. Instead of having these monstrosities, I haven't, this makes me think of the satellite dishes, you know? The first ones come out were as tall as this building.
Right.
Now they're about this size. And I project that these will be obsolete this size in 10 years around residential. And I think, to me, we need to tell them, we give you all the farmland you need and everywhere. You don't have no idea for sure if anybody's gonna want one of these beside their house, but we're gonna tell you right now, we don't want you to have them. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I'm for solar. Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that they're gonna walk away from all these acres that will be approved over around that substation. I don't see them having any resistance at all. And I don't think they're gonna say, we can't have this, we're losing.
Well, they just follow the grid.
Huh?
That's, you know, and this is where we get into the solar, where we can really start pulling out numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
From what I sent out to everyone, and I think I sent out the resources too, from producing out on all the different counties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we take 31 counties, and the average setback is 220. I suggested 250 because that was, I knew that would be a sticking point, so I put it to the extreme of the average. And obviously, we've got a lot of feedback that that's not enough. There's only, from those 32 counties, 31 counties, there was only 5 that were higher.
I'm kind of reluctant to join in this conversation, but I want to remind you, during the presentation, Dalton and a number of the developers talked about the willingness to look at if there is a conflict out there. Because it's all a matter of where the land works. I mean, you could be 100 feet or 200 feet and not be able to see it because you get there's all sorts of issues. They're willing to work with any landowner that has that issue. So it's, when you do a flat, and I'm kind of surprised that there's not more concern about the fiscal impact of the county being shown here and land rights of the owners that are of their free will are leasing land. And so the focus is on these other issues, and the true issues is, you know, the county, the way the state of Indiana has constricted county government and all local governments, this is a rare opportunity to broaden the tax base widespread in an effort that doesn't require a lot of services, very few services. So, and I think that, you know, again, going back to what the developers, you know, in commitment, they would look at individual cases that were to come out where the houses are and see how they can mitigate it through landscaping and other things. And you know, flat 1,000 feet would cause them problems. And they will go elsewhere. I mean, it's very simple because it's a rate of return business.
Well, if that's the case, I think we should go elsewhere.
Well, and then you know, we have a direct problem with people like Walmart, and now they're looking for only going to places where there are renewable fuels.
Tim, I don't mean to, but when we all have different experiences, and when there is nothing documented on exactly what the standard is, then you have no limit whatsoever. And essentially, you're going to get what you're going to get. So you got to document like any other legal document. If it's zoned for agriculture, it's probably agriculture. But let's go to your argument that they'll probably try to take neighbors in mind, because I agree 100%. The impact of the community and the adjacent homeowners is a huge concern.
So then, the problem that often Board of Appeals should guarantee compensation to any time they do a variance.
Whatever
So,
mitigation is, it depends on what the mitigation.
No, there is no, it's a black and white issue.
Well,
Once you go down the road and say you're doing mitigation, you have to do mitigation for everything. And the Board of Zoning Appeals, every decision they make has the potential of adversely affecting a property owner at some point in the future. An unknown property owner in an unknown market condition.
That would be the case.
I mean, that's, I'm schooled in this. I've been a planning director. I've done development. I'm the one that sat down with Mr. Certain and I negotiated the Walmart transaction. I negotiated the American Woodmark transaction, the Dollar General transaction. These are I know how these things work. And the CIE, yes. So, I mean, this is the real one here.
This is totally different.
Yeah. We're talking about the land rights of the farm.
I know.
So you want to bridge his land rights?
I mean, he was for the Dutch Dairy out there also.
No, I was with
You called me and wanted me to support that. That Dutch Dairy was too close to school, turned down, plus they went bankrupt and closed anyway.
So, again, what we're talking about is totally different. We're talking about you're bridging the land rights of the farm. I mean, that's the road you're going down.
We're talking about property values.
And being someone who's schooled in this, I would guarantee you there's no way to project what the future impact in 25 years is going to be. But you know what the biggest impact on your property values is? The rating of your community school. If it's not in the top 100, if you want land values including farm, you get a school district in the top 100. And there's none in Grant County. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're talking land values, that's what you want to focus on.
What I'm saying is, I'm for solar, okay? But I'm not for these big monstrosities out here at the house. And, I mean, you could go out here to Fox Run or wherever, and people say, I'm not going to put one of them up, I can put one on my roof. Then a neighbor comes in and he decides, I like that. So he takes one.
I would suggest to you that given what I know about physics, and having son as a physicist, that the ability to build large-scale solar to serve the needs of a Walmart distribution center, which is a 3 megawatt, which is the largest electrical user in Grant County, doesn't exist on anybody's rooftop.
It doesn't what?
Doesn't exist on anybody's rooftop. You have to have large-scale fields that they're talking about.
Sure, I see that. But we're talking about two different things.
I thought we were talking about.
Okay, so get back. So within the ordinance, I think I've read through it 4 times now, and I see where residential, they have special building codes through the state for how you can do it at your home. And then we have major or minor solar fields, breaking in 10 acres or less or 10 acres or more. We're more interested in governing over the larger ones, not the residential, because that's all already set in place as far as what they can do at that level. I do weigh the setbacks, 250, but not only the setbacks is in there, you do have screening that has to be appropriate to be screened from the resident, so it would not be visible. And then and then there's also the noise factor, because I'm not sure what kind of noise, but there's going to be collection points and humming, I'm sure, of some sort. That also has to be at a certain level or less at the property line. So there is, just besides the setback, there's 2 other items that definitely is there to protect the adjacent landowners.
And they're gonna put bunkers too, like a little hill bunker.
Well, I think it's going to be part of it. Well, that's part of this, that can be part of the screen, like a berm, and then trees or whatever. Whatever is agreed upon or whatever works for that site.
So like Tim was saying though, each development is going to be on its own.
Right.
I mean, if we do have, in granted, we're if we had a house that was a little bit higher, maybe they do, but in that manner. You're gonna have 25-foot of buffer, you're gonna have fencing, vegetation, screening, that's minimum 6 feet. So there's gonna be several things that would go into place to height, I mean, not height, but, I mean, to better visible.
It's gonna be very costly. And try to find there.
But again, that's, you know, they're gonna give all that to us, and then we bring it up.
Right.
For review.
They're gonna, if they apply, they're gonna know, this is, I would assume, this is where we wanna go, these are the homeowners in the area that we're gonna have to deal with or accommodate to make it work.
Because on the same note, that other neighbor can sign a waiver to take the setback away. So, I mean, it goes, you would have a setback one way, but at the same time, you can sign a waiver and get rid of the setback with two agreeing neighbors.
This here, you know, where it says, the solar company stated that if the setbacks increased to 1,000 feet, a moratorium on solar.
It would be the equivalent.
Yeah. Anyway.
And their other concern with that is the farther your setbacks, the farther they have to go to make their arrays work, the more landowners end up getting touched.
Does that farm that owns that much land right there put it in?
What I'm saying is, whichever company it is, I mean, somebody's gonna come in that they're in Van Buren area, they've got enough acres that farmers are willing, that's what they really want. They really don't have no idea that anybody would want to put one of these in a residential. So why are they putting something like this? Or, I didn't hear anybody say that anyway. We were talking to it.
Dalton said it, we just missed a word in the middle of it. But as far as, are you talking residential?
Yeah.
Like a residential solar array?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's mostly used for the residents.
Yeah.
Any additional power goes back to the grid. So, I mean, the only thing that would be going back to the grid from that is whatever the house doesn't use.
Right. But the house is gonna set the unit, right? They're gonna build that unit behind your house or away from it?
Yeah, for residential, they would be set up like an accessory structure.
Yeah.
So they would have to be behind or to the side with normal setbacks, like if they were putting a yard guard.
Yeah.
For small residential. Anything other than that goes in front of the BZA for a variance, because that's a variance to zoning.
I just don't understand their thinking around it. I mean, why are they worried about that out here? When the bulk of it, 99% is gonna be up around substation. See what I'm saying?
Well, I think we're crafting an ordinance that covers all angles. We gotta craft an ordinance that incorporates residential, and then the smaller ones that, like out of Oak Hill, or let's say Walmart wants to put some stuff up on top of their building down there on the bypass to offset their cost, that would be something different. That would need to be, we wanna make sure that it's permitted correctly or properly and meet certain guidelines. And then you got the big ones that are gonna go out in the farm field. So there is a lot of discussion that can still be had. We're not gonna solve them tonight.
We also had, I think Brian brought it up, you also brought it up as far as municipal buffering.
Yes. So that would be, I think we brought it up at the last meeting, but, so like it's let's say, currently the draft shows 250 feet from a residential. I think within the county, any incorporated, like Sweetser, Upland, Van Buren, I think it needs to be more than that. How are we as a town going to grow if we got something 250 feet from our boundary? So I don't know what that magic number is. I think we did look up and they're like it's listed in 3 or 4 different places. One's just a quarter mile, I think, one's a mile.
Right here. So, out of the 31 that we looked at, Osceola County put a 1 mile municipal buffer, Posey County put a 1 mile, and Wabash put a quarter mile. But out of the rest of them, they did not have that municipal buffer. Not that it's a bad idea.
I think it's something we should look at because Grant County's not growing fast. It's stagnant or shrinking in some areas, but why would we want to restrict the potential of something growing? Now, we have that in there. There are ways to make an exception. I think the way it's written, you can cut it in half if you get an agreement. So if there was something, and it would fit because it's in a low spot, or it would be screened right, or it's in a farmland that doesn't really work, or whatever, then maybe it could be accommodated. But I do think we need to protect our small towns to make sure they have an opportunity to expand.
Do we know, I'm sorry, Chuck, do we know if any of those counties have solar farms?
Now, these are actually counties with solar ordinances.
Well, then, that would indicate to you that it does not actually, make it a moratorium.
Well, that's just.
We've already got counties that have setbacks.
Well, that's just around like the town, not for each town.
That's just for city limits?
Right.
That's
Town or
municipal buffer.
Okay.
just around the municipality.
All right, thank you.
So in that-
Swayze, right now, Swayze's not a part of area plan, but say a company goes in right now, they could surround Swayze with solar farms. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we would have setbacks so that they couldn't enclose it. If that makes sense.
So
I'm trying to get Swayze.
So I think that should be something that we should consider, because,
Chuck, if I'm speaking out
this is all.
This is just bringing back a lot of memories from when one day.
Right.
The only thing I think that needs to be looked at in this is quit looking at it from levels, look from property lines, whether you're on half acre, 1 acre, 100 acres. Make that company, if they want to encroach on somebody's property, whether they got resident, a house on it, or just farm ground, make them come to that landowner and ask them for a permission, a grant that allows you, gives them permission to build them closer, okay? You're worried about towns, well, I don't know, 30 years from now, if somebody has a 100-acre farm ground out there, maybe they got a son, grandson, that might want to build a house. Then you're eliminating that from it. You're taking, yes, land use rights for both ways. So whether you own an acre or 100 acres, 500 acres, it should be from property, whatever that number is set at. Property line is the key, not low. Houses will come and go. Property lines pretty well stay the same, they should buy more ground, but it should be property lines, not low.
But we do have that too. I mean, this is just.
I know, but I'm just saying, that was something that was missed in the wind farm thing, and that was a total mess, okay? And I don't want to see that happen again. I do not. I don't, you can be called a nibby, I was called everything, I don't know if people know what it is, not my backyard. I don't care whose backyard, backfield it is. That landowner has the same amount, the same right that the other farmer that's leasing his ground. Work it out before it gets too far. That's all I'm saying.
Chuck?
Yes,
You talk about, okay, they might go away if we're too restrictive. But you want to be first. Some of the people that were in a big rush to be first, they haven't got it built yet, they're still in court. Consuming huge amounts of money going to the Supreme Court.
I don't think that's the way we want to spend our money.
No.
I'd rather have it right, even if it took longer. Now, I know there's some constraint of time here, and the Indiana General Assembly is going to be in session in January, and they may consider HB 1381 again, and they may try and get it passed. They got it through the House, and then we'll live by that ordinance if we don't have our own. Now, the time frame last year was July 31st, 2021, if they had got it through last year's session. So it's probably going to be about the same this year. If they get it through, we'll probably be looking at about July. You got to be done well before that to get it grandfathered in. But anyway, so you got a little time, and you got a chance to get it right. And then if you get it right, you got less a chance of fighting lawsuits over it and wasting money on that. We're looking at this as a money thing too, as well as taking care of our people. We want to take care of the people in the county. I mean, that's real important to us all. And but we also would like to improve our tax base and use that money to improve the county and bring some businesses that have jobs. That's another thing. This business doesn't bring jobs. It brings temporary construction jobs of those who are not in the traveling crew going around building these things. It'll bring 2 jobs, maybe.
And hopefully, from what
year.
Eric is saying, hopefully by having this asset within the county, it might attract your companies that are green-minded, that might bring satellite office or. It might, but it gives you a chance.
Everybody's going to have it. Yeah. And this solar farm that we're proposing, that electric is not necessarily staying in Grant County. It's hitting the high power wires and it's leaving town.
Well, that's the way they do the business out there, so.
I mean, it's all on the grid.
And to that point, this is what they told me when I asked that same question. For all the corn that's in Grant County, does it all stay in Grant County too?
Lord, we'd be fat by now. Oh. We'd eat all that.
No, I mean, it's good to go.
That's a good
It doesn't matter. You know, we're going to pull power from elsewhere as well.
That's when I brought that up, that's what they said to me.
Yeah, they can't guarantee that power is going to be used anyplace if it's on that grid.
You really don't want to.
It doesn't matter.
The key word you said, Diane, was business.
Whatever their agreement.
The key word he said was business. Not worried about the public or whatever, they're worried about business. Just remember that, these are business people. They are about business. That's all.
You need to keep it where it's open to the public
Right.
at all times.
Right.
Behind the door stuff is not working on.
Well, that's why we're here tonight talking about it. We had a special meeting about 2-3 weeks ago on the 15th. And we had, the commissioners had a special meeting out here. That's why we're having it here, because we only allow 25 people. So we're trying to be as public as possible, but do you see the Chronicle Tribune here?
Yes, they were.
They were? Okay. To get the word out, the spread, I mean, we can only push so far. I mean, we do advertising as far as special meetings, what the agendas are, so.
And again, this is available, the Commissioners Summit meeting, the BZA APC meeting, workshop is available on YouTube. So you can get on YouTube and see both of them.
Is the information that's covered, is it a matter of public record and we can retrieve it and review it so that we can take a look at exactly what's being discussed?
Okay, if you want to come up to area plan, I'll get you a copy. Easy enough.
Okay.
I mean, the draft, we didn't have it tonight because we didn't think we were going to talk a lot, but usually we've got the draft set at the front door.
Okay.
Yep, we'll get your copy.
But in conclusion, I want to say I am 100% in favor of solar. I just want to protect the residents and their investment in their homes. That's one. And of course, I'm sure we'll have a setback great enough to protect the towns. You know, we wouldn't close the town if that's something we would do. But my concern and what I'm standing for, always will be the homeowners.
I'm like some people, I want setbacks, but I like to see them come in because the way our county's sitting right now, they can use the money that they'll bring in. And, but I'm like you too, you gotta look after the homeowners or the adjacent property owners. Is it fair to them what we're pushing on them?
This just didn't hit me right when I read that, where it said, solar company says we go 1,000 feet, we'd have a moratorium. As far as I'm concerned, the solar company's not calling the shots.
Right. Well, we just gotta find that right spot that works for what we believe we want. And I think, at least through the solar summit and different things, and the way it's been drafted, the county, or at least the commissioners, and that they are wanting to entertain solar to come here, but do it in a responsible way. So we just gotta make that reality.
Do you want to
Set a date?
Yeah.
So I know, talking to the other ones, I know if we want to only talk about that, then we really need to do our homework and come back in here and talk about the key items and then any other small items that along through there. I don't want to do it Christmas week. We don't want to do it Christmas week. So we have like 1 week from tonight. Was that the next one here available?
We've got a BZA meeting the 13th at 6.
And they're going to do that at the county building because they're just doing rules and procedures, right?
We didn't figure many people.
No, so can we do, and that's just a special meeting, right?
Right.
And it is open to the public, any meeting, but there will be no, you're just doing discussion, you're not gonna have any final.
No.
Right.
We're just a committee.
So they can meet there, and we can meet here.
I can't be
You can't be at 2 places at once?
I've got to zoom
You're
in
like me,
one.
Ryan, we can't go back and forth.
So that was Monday, so what's the next available date?
I checked the 13th and 20th, keeping it on Monday.
I'm available on the 20th, I don't know who, but that being
That's just too close.
With Christmas
I know.
We're not gonna give a big old rush. Take our time.
Close to Christmas.
I hate that.
I mean, we're gonna have to have it outside of the normal meeting.
Yes, I don't think we can do it on a normal meeting.
And then we're gonna have to have a place like this. And we're open to the
Yep.
public.
Yeah, we're gonna be here.
Until we're done.
I think we're probably looking at his first year.
We got a meeting first.
Yeah, after that. The only way we can have it next week if we get them, BZA to come here first.
Well, we could have it the 14th or 15th or 16th. I just checked Mondays.
Oh, you just checked Mondays, okay.
You check it out. I'm trying to keep it on Monday.
We usually just do it 2 weeks later, so that's why I checked those.
Well, I think we need to get it, I don't think we want to stall per se. I mean, there's been a lot of work, we really do need to get some things nailed down, or, because like I say, this is gonna all go into an ordinance, that then will also have a public hearing, which there could still be adjustments made at that time, potentially.
Yeah.
And then, before it even gets to the commissioners, and they even have an opportunity to make some adjustments. So, yes, we'd like to have it in the best form possible. But we're not gonna be able to get every T and I
Yeah. And
done.
what you're saying too, I like the public to know. When we get done with it, it don't mean our draft is final. The commissioner can change it 100%.
We're the recommending body.
Right.
Yeah,
we're
we're just recommending
we
body.
recommend it. But we wanna craft one that we feel is the best possible. I say we probably need to do it before Christmas. So then when we come back, we may or may not have one available for the first meeting of the month, but by February, hopefully. Or if we need to do another one,
How much time do we gotta have that?
48 hours.
2 business
Right.
days. 48 hours, not count weekend.
Tuesday next week.
You wanna check and see if they have availability on Tuesday?
14?
Yeah.
Okay.
Check and see if they got availability. And then we can start earlier, we don't have to start at 7, we don't have BZA. Good time, 6? 6? All right.
I'll get it.
Chuck, what's the rush to happen before Christmas? That's what I want.
We just gotta keep this thing going, I think.
We're not in that big a rush. I mean, we got next year.
Well, we do.
Yeah, but
We
it doesn't
do.
have to be this rush. It just seems like to me it's just too rushed. I mean, what's a good couple of weeks? We waited all this time. So what's the problem that we need to wait to have it so soon?
So they can go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like the investors don't have to come now.
Yeah.
Well, if the county wants to possibly control what we put together and the way we move, we need to have it, if they follow suit of what last year, we need to have it done by July.
Yeah.
If not, we're gonna possibly get stuck with whatever the state says is what you got to do. And that may or may not be what we want.
It may have to be right, that's correct. So therefore,
So-
we shouldn't have to be in this big of a rush. We rest it, after.
But like I say, so if we do something, we're still setting the ordinance, so
Yeah,
this
that's what
is,
I'm
we
saying.
need to
We're
keep.
still doing ordinance, going through phases, and that's
Right.
what we need to be doing.
Right.
We're not trying to close out everything
No.
right before the year's out. I just want
Well, I doubt it, hopefully we get some resolution on some of the items,
on some of the items,
but
correct?
we won't, and then it'll have to be written, and then probably reviewed at a regular meeting, and then probably a public hearing, hopefully shortly sometime after that.
I'm fine with that, but not just
No,
rush it through.
I don't think we'll have a final draft.
December is a busy month for most people.
Not-
You wanna have a forum.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look what we got here.
I was saying, we'll make it back to form when we do that vote.
Well, it's an informational consensus meeting, we're not making any final decisions. So it'd be just like you guys are meeting, just to gather and formulate things.
If we wanted, we could move our meeting here on the 13th. You know, you could be after. If you want, that's just if you could start earlier, if you had a good day.
Right, otherwise, Alfred, you wanna be starting at 5 o'clock
No.
and be done, well, you may go for a couple hours, your goal is to go a couple hours on what you're talking about.
Yeah, probably good.
Right, so that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Right, probably doesn't.
Unless you wanna start at 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
No, we don't. I usually don't leave work.
All right, so we probably should be on a separate day. You got a problem with the 14th? Anybody have?
Tuesday.
The Tuesday.
Two weeks. Or one
That'll
week.
be a
One
week from tomorrow.
week.
From tomorrow.
And we'll have it'll be available on WebEx too. We'll have all this set up too.
Where at?
Right here.
We'll have the WebEx set up.
Oh,
And the meeting will be here because anytime we're discussing solar, just like tonight, we probably got over 20, we can only hold 25 in the county building. And they're saying that number may be going down.
The county building, the 25 in the chambers,
Right.
that number's going down.
why?
Red,
COVID.
we're red.
So,
They can change between now
We hope.
How many people
but
we got on?
again, if we're doing
Yeah,
a
we're
workshop,
almost there.
we're also gonna have an army from, the public solar companies. We send emails out talking about we weren't gonna talk a whole bunch about solar tonight. So I just suggested to them to listen on WebEx, so they didn't, a lot of them are coming from out of state and that sort of stuff. So if we put a workshop together, they'll all be back like they were for the summit meeting or the workshop.
How many do you anticipate?
We've had 10 to 20 each time between in attendance and WebEx from solar
That's all.
companies. We've had 50 total, but solar companies 10.
Oh.
10.
So there's a lot of these that are gonna be built. It's not like we're gonna miss the boat if we're not first. There's a lot of counties got 10 companies lined up, ready to start building in their county when they get the go-ahead. So, I mean, it's not like we're missing the boat if we delay it.
All right, as long as we can do it on Tuesday the 14th. Well, I think we got a nod of okay. Okay.
14?
Yeah, 14.
Make it work.
14. Hey Tyson, you able to zoom in on the 14th if we do something next week?
I should be able to. I don't know about if it starts at 6. I may have to join in late because I don't even usually get home from work till after 6.
Okay. Robert, you're on there. You still awake?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right, then we can get those notifications out to the rest of the people.
We'll have enough of us membership.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Of the 31 counties that you surveyed, are there any near to us? And is there anyone in your position from those counties that could potentially come and speak to issues that they've had with the setbacks?
I mean, I can try to get a hold of, Margaret.
Well, I was hoping maybe there was someone nearby, like a county nearby us that has.
These are all surrounding, Howard, Blackford, Madison, Miami. Well,
It seems like there's a lot of consternation about these setbacks, and we don't even know, no one has a real idea of whether there is even going to be an issue. So.
Well, and that's, we have a thing, I think I sent it out to you, I think I sent it out to everyone, but it's got all 92 counties on it, and whether or not they've got wind, solar, and that Purdue put together, and that's what I base this on. In putting it together, I've talked to several. I went through several different ordinances. I've talked to several different. We went through the Commissioner Summit meeting, and setbacks were looked at and passed, and moved on.
Well, it appears to me that setbacks is not really going to be a problem, except for residential.
Well, residential is just, like I said, it's just like accessory structures. So it's no different, like accessory structures, like a yard barn or something like that.
Yeah.
For residential, it's no different.
Well, I mean, the agreement is different than.
They won't go through the agreement. They won't go through development. It's already residential. Solar is already governed by the Indiana Residential Code. Our zoning does the same.
His recommendation is a good one though. We call it lessons learned. And understanding how other communities have been impacted, and you've got stakeholders that can speak to it, and it gives you a lot of insight on the mystery that we don't know anything about. And so you go into it eyes wide open when you're talking about something this small. And the more you know, the more you communicate, and the more folks that are aware and engaged in the decisions and how they're done, less litigation, less problems, more acceptance. I think those are all positive attributes as you try to grow the county.
So what you really said, Ron, like he said, residential's already been set by the state, so we really don't have to say so, so we're worrying just about the farm.
And I added, because it was that way, I just added it, so that we knew that really the setbacks and stuff like that for residential were the same as accessory. Just so that it was.
Right, it's all in the ordinance, it's all easy to find.
Yeah, our residential solar is almost a mirror image of the Indiana Code.
It should be, don't want to get too drastic there. Okay. Any other, before we call?
Is that meeting not gonna be here? The 14th?
The 14th will be right here, because it'll be open to the public, and if we're discussing and we're gonna have more than 25 people total with us and everybody.
What about the restrooms?
That is a good question.
I'll check on all of that.
We could call Big John's.
Yeah.
They said a couple of days. They should be done in a couple.
Okay.
I was here when they were.
Well, if they know if they know they're gonna have a meeting here on Tuesday a week, then.
Set Big John's.
Yeah.
So I will get with Purdue Extension, make sure that
The day's available?
if it's available, I'll get everything out to APC, BZA, Commissioners Council, Growth Council, all town boards. And we'll get it in the paper too, so it'll be out there.
Okay.
Who's doing the plumbing in here? Anybody?
Martin's was here today.
Who?
Martin's.
Is that
Oh,
six?
Marshall Martin?
So we'll meet at 6, because we're on our own, 6 o'clock here on the 14th. Notifications will go out, plenty of time to notify the public. Any other discussion or topics? So I would encourage you to go through, read through your packets a few times. The red stuff, kind of things that we need to look at. The top items are setbacks, fees, and who gets to do the approval process. A little bit in demolition maybe, of wording, but yes.
We still have
Everything else.
scheduled for next year.
Oh, for tonight, yes. Even though we got a special meeting in a week and one day, we do need to officially set our agenda or our meeting schedules for next year. So we've always in the past, and most always in the past, we've always met on the first Monday of the month and took July off.
I'll make the motion, we keep it the same.
Do we have a second to keep it the same? First Mondays of the month at 7 o'clock. Mondays are off, or July is off, right?
Yeah.
July is off month.
Unless it's something special.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. That's Ryan making the second. This is just keeping the same format.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Frankel,
Yes.
Cass,
Yes.
Crouch. Yes. Gossett,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Good? All right. So our next informational solar meeting will next Tuesday, 14th, I believe, 6 o'clock right here, provided the building's available. If not, we'll try something else through emails to settle another date. In our regular meeting, hopefully we have regular business available, maybe, who knows? On January the 3rd, we'll reorganize the board, elections and things like that will take place on that day.
Appointment to BZA also.
On that night, yes, we'll have to appoint somebody on our board. Yes, all reappointments and elections or whatever will be done that night. All right, any other business? All right, meeting adjourned. Oh, wait a minute, guys, we do have an executive session. Well, we will meet, it's not by now, what you think, or unless everybody, well, you guys are gonna tear down, so we probably need to leave. We need to go to the back room, we'll go to the real quick. Right through the back door. Yeah, we're gonna go right past. It's short.
Okay. Senate, okay, gotcha.
I don't believe on theirs, I would love to see if they, our ordinance